Welcome to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. Today we're going to have our pre-trade deadline show with our old buddy, Jason Demers. We're going to talk about what's going to happen with Kiefer Sherwood and Mario Ferraro. We'll talk trade ideas and Michael Misa's growth. But before that, let's talk Bring Hockey Back. BringHockeyBack.net. Go to BringHockeyBack.net for your USA swag. They got great t-shirts, all that kind of stuff, celebrating Team USA's gold medal victory. Also, too, you can get custom hockey jerseys there for your beer league team for any occasion. So, BringHockeyBack.net. Coupon code San Jose Hockey Now for 15% off. Also, too, shout out to Sam. Sam, the mastermind of Bring Hockey Back, just met him in San Jose a couple of days ago. All right, so Jason, Daddy Demers, 700 NHL games in the bank, rising media superstar all over NHL.com and NHL Network. Back with us to talk about the trade deadline. Should the Sharks buy or sell? Who does he like on a trade market? Michael Misa's development, too. We'll talk about that. And Macklin Celebrini at the Olympics. Jason was there in Milan. Welcome, Jason Demers.
We'll see. If you know me, I say hard out, and then it,
and then something else gets hard.
And then, yeah.
And we keep going.
I go from 6 to midnight. Fuck Shanger. If you'd act like this around the guys, they'd love you over there. you wouldn't get Warzo, giving you side eye all the
time. I love it.
Gotta be professional, gotta be objective, JD.
Oh, fuck that. Come on now.
Not wrong. I know, dude. His journalistic integrity is too high.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what I like to call it.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta be able to criticize the guy sometimes too. All right, so
you can. That's
I was in the Oilers locker room after the loss, and what's the reporter's name?
Spectre.
Dude, oh my god, he was like ripping into the
JD's
guy.
I don't think JD's a fan. So
who was he ripping? Me or the guys?
He was
ripping Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, and Draisaitl, right?
And Draisaitl, and they were just like had enough
Nurse
of him.
Nurse especially, right? Yeah, because that went viral. His conversation with Nurse in San Jose.
Oh, it did, eh?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't just. I mean, Edmonton's so tough because it's like you just like shake your head and you don't know what's wrong, but you obviously can tell that they seem frustrated.
Yeah.
So you don't know if it's coaching, but then at like one point, is it the players? But I just think the media just obviously looks right at the contracts, and that Nurse contract isn't getting any better. It's not going to. So it's like one of those things. Everybody's got to drop it or not. And just like, I think they did for a little bit, but then he's kind of struggled a bit recently. So I think they jump back on it. And it's just easy, low hanging fruit. But I'm like, listen, if some fucking team, if San Jose came out to say, we'll give you 9.5 by 9, I'd be like, done, signed. Sorry. Even if I don't deserve it, you're like, it's like, you kind of just, I mean, it is what it is. It's the team's issue. They got to figure out a way around it. And I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I mean, I don't think Florida's making the playoffs this year, and I think Edmonton will make it just because you got Connor and Leon. I just think the body language on that team has just not been good. Like Leon's body language in that game was not great.
Yeah,
against San Jose, he just looks. They look frustrated. They just look frustrated and a little down in the dumps. So I don't know if it's coaching, management.
But imagine though, like San Jose or Edmonton reporters with Vlasic in the last like 4 years of his contract.
Well, Vlad would have, Vlad, he would have went right at him.
He would have, but it would have been an ugly scene though. It would have been an ugly scene though.
Yeah.
So
Mark don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He never did. He never cared.
I felt it's proper to handle it like you said. I don't know if it's like considered soft, but like. Yeah, like I'm kind of like you. Like that's just a situation. The contract's bad. Like the player's not getting any better. Like that's how often do you need to remind a player? How often do you? It's like what it is. Yeah,
it's like find a new story. It's like are you? At the end of the day, it's just there. Just stop talking to him. You know what it is. I mean, it's like it's kind of one of those things. It's like a slow journal. It's a slow, and I guess it's tough. Listen, I've kind of went back and forth, and funny enough, I got into it with Mark Spector. Well, he reached out to me personally because I made fun of his. I didn't make fun of it.
Connor McDavid hard comment, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of came at me, but he did it privately, and we texted, and I just said, "Listen, man," I said, as a player, you're judged on the mistakes you make and the good plays you make. You can play a great game, and you make one bad turnover, one bad change, as Will Smith and me and you, Panger, talks about it. One bad change, it could be a culmination of things, but you're judged on that clip, and if you clip it, so it's like I told him, I'm like, listen, I just didn't think it was a great question. I've been trying to get the Department of Microphone Safety off the ground for the NHL. Kind of not, and it's not to go after anybody. It's a job. It's a tough job. It's difficult to do what you guys do, Shanger, because you can't just go there and not ask anything because you're getting paid to do it. So you have to ask something. And sometimes it's a slow day. Sometimes there's nothing. Like I've had it interviewing guys where it's like, I got fucking nothing. And there's nothing to ask because it's nothing that they say is going to give me any more substance, but I still got to ask a question. So it's like, okay, where do we go with it? And it can either be good or bad. So you kind of got to deal with that and you got to take your licks. So I was just trying to make Mark Spector feel like he was in the locker room with us, and you got to take your licks. You lead with your best foot forward and you're a good person and guys see that. I mean, you can ask those tough questions, but I think there's a way to frame them. I think asking Connor McDavid, why is it hard? Like, why haven't you found success? It's like, well, what the fuck do you want him to say? Because my team sucks and I'm doing all the work by myself, or my goalies suck and the GMs, or because you don't want to, you're not going to get a candid answer. And it's one of those things like, yes, we have to write something about why Connor's been so close so many times, but maybe asking, because I worked with Jameson Coyle at the Olympics, and he's so great for bouncing ideas off in terms of asking the right questions, and he's given me two of the best things that's helped me at interviewing is the shorter the question, the longer the answer.
Sure, yeah, I've learned that, yeah.
And if you want to get something out of a guy, you're never going to get a good answer in hockey out of a player about himself. You have to ask somebody that's close to him to get you something that they saw about that player. Because in hockey, it's different than basketball and football, where it's a lot more me. And you ask a basketball guy what he thought about his game, he'll fucking give you the rundown. And it's nothing against him. It's just a different culture. So us, it's like we kind of refrain from putting the spotlight on ourselves. And yeah, it's difficult. We're tough eggs to crack. And the guys that do open up, like myself, like I did early on. I mean, I got whacked for it by coaches and GMs. I was told multiple times in my career to not be a distraction to the team, and nothing I said was crazy. It was crazy bad or directly affected the team in a negative way. So you just got to kind of. Yeah, but it's tough both ways. So, but them's the breaks, as we say, I
should say though then that I would defend Mark a little bit. Like I listened to the whole question, which I'm sure you did, and I think where Mark was coming from was, you're Connor McDavid, you're coming to the league, you're the best player in the league from basically the beginning, and kind of like when you back then in your teen years, when you're 20. Did you kind of think that it would be that hard to make it over the top, over the mountaintop? I think that's kind of where he was coming from.
Frame it that way, no?
Yeah. So like, don't frame it better, but yeah.
Don't frame it that like you're Wayne Gretzky and these guys found success. Why hasn't it found you? Like, well, fuck, Mark. Yeah. Thanks for making me feel bad.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, listen. I think we all have good intentions when we're starting, but who knows? He's been caught a couple of times by the Department of Player Microphone Safety. And I'm on your ass, Shanger, so watch out, come down there. You'll get a fucking suspension in a half second.
I had to deal with a lot of 6-0 losses in like Nashville, in Toronto. Yeah. And what the fuck do you ask these guys afterwards? And I try my best, and I'm by myself too, because
I know
until this year I was really the main traveling Sharks beat writer. And so what do you ask, right? But you got to ask something, and you got to, at the best you can, like hold some kind of accountability without like overdoing it. Just like you said, like, why not Vlasic like in year 19 about how come you're not living up to your $7 million contract? Well, because I'm 36 years old, Sheng. Like, there's no point. There's no point in that.
That's a good way of coming about it. Also of like different media markets that are going through different levels of success. It is, you do have to adjust on the fly. So yeah.
Well, yeah.
Continue with your segue.
Yeah, I'll segue and I'll take a victory lap too. So you and me have a little bit of a wager. And I see a Canada jersey back there, but I think you owe me a Jack Hughes jersey.
Well, do I got to buy you a Jack Hughes jersey? That was the bet? Well, fucking send me buy it and send me the Venmo. I'm not going out and buying it for you. Sack of shit.
That's part of the bet. You got to look it up. You got to find the best deal.
Or I said you could give me some of that Ralph Lauren swag.
Yeah,
but something USA.
I didn't get to keep it. I burned that shit. Come on now.
Start a little fire in Milan. Keep the hands warm.
Listen,
don't you get a discount from working for NHL at the NHL store?
That was like the exclusive stuff. That was that was pretty awesome. We flew with the Czech team because we were on one of the charters, and we landed, and they're like, hey, we're going to get some content at the Ralph Lauren, right where the Team USA guys were getting fitted. So we walked in. It's like it was right next to the Milan airport in the hotel connected, which is pretty cool. So you walk in and they had the whole place decked out. It was amazing. And we got to go through, get the whole experience, see what the guys were going through. We chatted with a couple of the guys, which was fun. Just, hey, how you guys doing? This and that. So it was really cool. We got some good content, and it was an amazing way to start the trip. I am a little bit pissed that we had to film content for the NHL.com and NHL Network after I just got off a 10-hour flight.
Yeah.
Where I slept. I had my eyes closed for 10 hours or 8 hours or whatever, but I don't know if I actually fell asleep. I just think my eyes were closed for that long. And I was like,
I guess that too.
Yeah, I guess my eyes are closed. And so I was like, my hair was a mess. And it's not like we're in studio with the full makeup crew. So I'm just like, this is just going to be disaster, just smelling like absolute dog shit on there, sweating and stuff like that. But it was such a cool experience, and the gear was I having competed, and you get all the swag. That's like the coolest part. One of the coolest parts about the Olympics is you get more clothes than you know what to do with from Lululemon for Canada, but Ralph Lauren, it's just like you got 6 duffel bags of stuff that's just filled to the gills for all family members and everything. It was cool. But that was the start, yeah.
Oh, I love it. And then what was the whole experience? We went to all the games, covering everything.
27 games we watched live.
Wow.
In what I got there the 7th until the 22nd. So we did a couple women's games. We did the Canada-US women's game in the prelims. Then we did the bronze medal. We did the gold medal game. So it was a lot of fucking hockey. Like, it was a lot. Like, we were just absolutely, there's some days we were wrapping up at the end of the day, because our whole thing was like, we were filming for NHL.com, NHL Network, and a few other things, and so NHL Social. So it's like we had to be there for the whole day, because otherwise, like the Sportsnet guys and the guys calling the games, if you weren't calling a game, most of them were watching on TV or back at the hotel or something like that. So but we had to be there, because if we had also to do these like features, so we had to interview, we interviewed Bruce Bennett, and we interviewed Alan Roach, and we got Gary Bettman. So we got Gary Bettman outside the rink. We got him at his hotel. So we kind of had to be nimble and on the fly a little bit. So it was a lot of work, but it was an amazing experience. The hockey was some of the best hockey I've seen in my life. I hadn't really, there's a few moments where I tell people I've been retired now. It's like my 3rd year being out, and I blinked and I'm in my 3rd year, but I never really have crazy moments of like, oh, I wish I could be playing. But there's sometimes that it's like, ooh, wow, do I make a comeback? And that Olympics was like, man, it just looks so fun to be there chopping up with the guys. We were downstairs after games doing interviews with all the players. So it's like we were right in the mix, and you could just feel the energy and feed off it. The fans, the players, the fans, the whole experience of it all was very, it was nice it was a good feeling for me in the sense of like, it was so close to being like a player again and going through the routine and yeah, I just enjoyed it so much. And, unfortunately Canada loses, which would have been a nice cap off for us, but getting US Canada, and I tell people this, especially Canadian fans, to console them. I'm like, if you were to write a script of a movie that could rival Miracle or rival something that would benefit the NHL in the best way possible, this is the way that tournament would have unfolded. So, and I don't think you could have got all the twists and turns that you would have gotten, and the whole thing with the Gaudreaus and bringing their kids on the ice, but also Canada being down 2-0 against Czechia, coming back. You also have them almost losing to Finland, and then you have US being tied in overtime, and then you have that crazy final game. So it's just so amazing how it worked out and how it played out, and it was a great tournament. They did a great job. The rink was what the rink was, but I didn't think there was a bad seat in the house, even though it was dusty as shit in there because they just refused to clean up the dust or whatever. But I think I got anthrax poisoning or asbestos or something. But it was well done and well completed. And the ice for what it was. I know, guys, it was hot and cold, but I think guys really enjoyed it, and the experience is just crazy.
That's wild.
So, yeah.
What a game too. You're right. That gold medal game was. I had
it was
watched it at
nuts.
my place. It was insane. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
All the emotion.
Like, can you imagine that? Just like being those players there, and even how many people were watching, just how I saw in the US, like the signups were like 100,000 for in youth sports, like for hockey, youth hockey. There was
Really?
like 100.
Wow.
In the US, like I think the amount of kids we're going to see in the youth sports space that, take up hockey, start playing, want to be a part of this, I think is going to be like, it won't be quantifiable. So until, in the next 10, 15 years, but the amount of people and kids that watch that game, I mean, just think of the where were you moment when, Jack Hughes scores that goal. I mean, what an amazing goal. What an amazing moment. And then we interview him after the game, and he's like, we asked him, and he said, it was such a cool moment. He was rooming with Quinn, and they couldn't sleep, and it was like 2 a.m, and Jack heard Quinn rustling about, and Quinn, Jack said, "You awake?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "What are you thinking of?" And Quinn asked Jack that, and Jack said, "I'm just thinking of scoring the overtime winner to win the gold medal for US." And he fucking goes and does it. And you talk about like manifesting and the power of the mind, and also just that, like, how crazy that is with your brother. And so, yeah, the whole experience was very cool and so amazing for the NHL. The NHL just hits it out of the park once again. And yeah, fucking US beats my goddamn Canadians.
Well, speaking of everybody's favorite Canadian, what was it like watching Macklin Celebrini grow into San Jose, a local superstar, maybe a national superstar before this, but now an international superstar?
Yeah, anytime we put a ceiling on this kid, he just busts through it, right? And he just doesn't stop. And I think we've tried to temper expectations on him, I think, as respect to his age and
Sure.
and who he is, and not wanting to put pressure on him, which I think San Jose's done a great job of doing. But this fucking kid, man, is like we have to stop putting shackles on him and just let him run, let the boy run, because he is so good. I mean, he led that team in ice time, for multiple games.
Yeah.
And for that at that age, and to come back now after the break and be as dominant as he has been in the last few games, and has as strong physically on both sides of the pucks as he's been. I mean, this kid is fucking generational, and it's like, you can't say it enough. It's amazing when you find these kids. And I always laugh at people in these, and I, just going a little bit off to the right here, and my ADD's taking over for a second. These like skating coaches and skills coaches and academies being like, be like Quinn Hughes and be like Macklin Celebrini, and this is what you got to train. And I'm like, you can't fucking do what they do. I don't care, because you cannot unless you are willing to put in the time and effort that they have done to become as good as they are, you cannot do that. So get that out of your head. So it's like one of those things of like, if you're teaching the next generation of kid how to play and you show Macklin Celebrini, you have to put a disclaimer of like, listen, if you want to be this good, you have to put in the goddamn hours to be this good. And if you can't, then I'll show you clips of somebody else that's a great hockey player in the NHL that is good and you can, play like them. But what he's sacrificed at such a young age, I feel like, to be this good is just incredible. And he's done it so humbly and so, with such a good perspective and outlook. And you've seen like him and Schaefer, like these personalities, their emotional maturity. Like you can't, like, it's so rare to find that. I think in young kids. When I was 19, I was, picking boogers out of my nose and trying to just, make sure I was on time and not late to a meeting, and let alone, running a franchise and running a team and so young. So it's like, credit to their families, credit to the organizations that have, put the faith and effort into them, and also credit to them on what they've done, because Macklin deserves all the praise in the world, and I still don't think he gets enough.
Should add an advisory. I think you can work as hard as Macklin did as a kid, and yeah, I've talked with his youth coaches. He would practice at 5 a.m. when he could have, on an off day.
It still might not work out.
That's the point I want to make.
You still might not become him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You can work as hard as Macklin does. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, not to discourage kids, but like, it's like you can't do what he does. You have to be your own individual and work within those confines. And but I mean, yeah, he is a rink rat through and through.
My favorite side story, though, with Macklin in the coming years, not necessarily Olympic related, and this was what one of his youth coaches suggested to me last year, is that we're going to see a generation of young players. And, before Macklin, like the young players, all the talk was like, oh, all these guys are so skilled, but that's what they focus on working on their skills, on how to roof a shot, how to pick a corner, how to do this and that, skill, right? But watching Macklin play, that there's going to be a generation of young players. I want to play like Macklin, and you're going to have a bunch of guys that learn how to play a two-way game at a much younger age, and that becomes sexy. And so I think that's one of the interesting things I think actually could happen, right? With kind of his impact.
Young forwards coming in the league, learning and playing hard defensively. Oh God, I might cream my shorts, guys. Every defender out there, finally, help us. These dumbass forwards learning how to play D young. Crazy. I mean, listen, if I'm a young kid and I'm listening to this podcast, or if I tell young kids, learn how to play away from the puck. That's the one thing, is like learning how to play away from the puck and understanding where to be in space. Because yes, we all want the puck, but when you realize once you get to the NHL how little you actually touch it in a 60-minute hockey game, it might be somewhere in the realm of 1 minute total time you have the puck on your stick. That's if you're a really good player. If you're a defenseman, you might have it for less than 30 seconds. So it's like, learn how to play away from the puck, and it's like, that's, I think, what Macklin does so well.
I think it was amazing to me in this Olympics, and I've said this on a couple other shows myself. I wonder what you think about this, but what impressed me most about Macklin is that he did things in Milan that he wasn't doing for the Sharks necessarily, because on the Sharks, he has to carry the puck all the time. He has to, he has these kind of different responsibilities just because the Sharks are not as deep as Team Canada. But on Team Canada, he played off the puck. He was the winger. He was the F1. He was doing the dirty work for McDavid and McKinnon. And he did all that at an elite level. And he read off of them his mind at an elite level, the IQ, hockey IQ. And that just was the most impressive thing, because I think a lot of times on these kind of like all-star teams, guys have a game that they play that makes them an all-star and makes them Olympic worthy, but then they can't necessarily adjust their game with a different role. And Macklin just did that, like he's been doing that for the last decade. And that just can't say enough good things about his performance.
Yeah. I think you hit it on the head. It's like adaptability is such an underrated, skill that I think another thing young kids should learn is not just adapting, game by game, but shift by shift and understanding where the game is, where you are in the game, where you are in space, and moving your game within that. And for him to learn how to play wing, which I'm sure he did at some point at the youth level, but like to learn it now with Connor McDavid, and Connor McDavid is a hard guy to play with. Like again, people go like I could be a beer leaguer and score 50 with Connor. No, you couldn't, because Connor, you couldn't keep up. One, you wouldn't get there, and Connor's very tough to play with. You got to think 2 steps ahead of him and understand where he's going. And you see him in Edmonton. He's very particular about his wingers. So is Leon Draisaitl, and those guys are tough to play with. And Macklin was like wanted by Connor, which is crazy, and what an honor. And they worked so well together. He's so good. And to your point, you hit it on the head. But young kids as well, it's like being adaptable, being versatile, understanding that, hey, you might not be on a line where your natural skills are going to do you much good. You need to adapt and find a way to fit within that line, because you saw guys that struggled at the Olympics. Kyle Connor hasn't been in. Everybody goes, why can't Kyle Connor? This guy's a perennial, 40 goal scorer. Why can't he find? Because he doesn't know how to adapt outside of leading that line in Winnipeg. And it's not a knock on him. He's one of the best players in the league, but it's very tough to do. And the guys that do it well, are just a cut above. And that's what we noticed at the Olympics, is even though it's best on best, and I know Russia was missing, and I think the tournament would be different if Russia was there, but the actual steps ahead of the rest of the top end players that like Connor McDavid is and Macklin Celebrini they're in a class of their own.
Yeah. And, just to add to some of his development too, it's what I find interesting is his professional details everywhere. And one of these random things that I noticed was like Sharks Marking did this thing where, they asked the players, like, what temperature do you sleep in? And the funny thing is, like, if you guys have never read Dr. Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep.
63 degrees.
Yep.
60,
Yeah. And 58 to 62 is like optimal. Yeah. It's like colder than you think. And all the players are like 70, 67. Macklin's like, I think he's like 60 degrees, like right in the target of what optimal sleep temperature is.
I'm in 70.
Yeah.
That's how you how you optimal sleep. Like my wife likes sleeping really hot. And I'm like, no, you need to get that shit cold. Recover.
Oh yeah. We do 58 to 62 at home, and then you deep sleep and then you recover better. And there's all these professional details that if you really look into it, like the other weird one is like even look at the development of his neck, which prevents concussions. Like you look at his neck versus some of the other rookies that come in the league or people his age, he's been working on that, which keeps longevity in the game. Look at F1 racers, how they train. Like they train their neck out significantly.
I got a lot of concussions. I had neck issues too.
Yeah, no, seriously. And you just look at him in interviews, his neck is like fully developed.
Yep.
And it's like those professional details that I think kids can learn from, where, it's not just, also training hockey, it's what you're training to become an athlete. So yeah, it's amazing. And then his mental health, that's the other thing you talked about too. And I thought that, like, Alyssa Liu, speaking of Olympics, like unlocked a new mental health. We're like, how do you feel about stress? And she's like, well, I only have nothing but to gain from the Olympics. I should feel no stress. And I don't know. Macklin tends to have also this, like, to your point earlier, JD, like incredible ability to deal with everything that he's handling at the same time at this age. I couldn't imagine doing it at that age. Like, it's absolutely unreal.
Yeah. Those are the special, the special people that just figure it out. And we're just in that. It's just we're witnessing, I would just say, just sit back and enjoy them, and just don't try to overthink it. Just enjoy them. It's the same thing with Connor. I just sit back and revel at like the amount of, if we're gonna find another set of a player like him, I don't know for how long, so it's like that we're gonna have to wait. So it's like, just enjoy it now. losses or wins, just enjoy it now. You want him to win, but Mark Spector, just sit back and enjoy losses or wins, because he's just a special cat. That guy's gonna slash my tires. All love, Mark. All love. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about getting Macklin some help.
Yes.
Yeah. And number one, Macklin got some help yesterday from Michael Misa, and Zubair wanted to take a little bit of a victory lap on Michael Misa, but I have some pushback. But go ahead, Zubair. You can take this one. You can take this one.
Well, I said at the beginning of the season, one of my predictions was Misa would take the number 2C spot on the Sharks. Yeah, as he should. And when he would get down to 3C defensive center, because he sometimes leaves you wanting more offense, and Misa obviously has that. Once he can pick up to the NHL speed, and as an underager in the O, I was like, he'll just catch up. Like his resume says he will figure it out. And he really does seem to have figured it out after the break these last 3 games. So I just wanted to talk to that. I think Schenger's going to push back, but there's still some time for him to officially win the 2C.
Yeah, he hasn't really taken the 2C job. I mean, Macklin and Wenberg are 20-minute players. Yeah. Misa played his career high yesterday at 15:39. 15:39. That's not 2C.
Exactly.
No, he's eventually going to be there.
He will be eventually.
I think they've done a good job developing the young guys in San Jose. Yeah. I think Warzo's done a very good job at not kind of inundating them with too much too soon, and making sure that they earn their minutes and the details are there. I did like him early in the season, and I did kind of want and allude to wishing Warzo would maybe give him a couple more minutes and have him consistently in that 15-minute range.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of like 12 to 13, and I just find as a young kid that's very difficult, but learning to play those amount of minutes is very hard to do in the NHL as a young age when you're so used to playing 20 minutes. Like Macklin was given 20 right away, and you're used to that because in junior you're doing that and you're the stud. So you make a lot of mistakes, but it's better for your development. It's tough when you give a young guy low minutes who's played 20 and then you go figure out how to play in the NHL playing 12 minutes. You have less opportunity to make those big plays. So you play a little bit more reserved like he has been this year. Yeah. He's kind of played a little bit less high risk, and he's kind of really kept it. He's taken care of his details with credit to him, because when he's had the opportunity to open it up, he does open it up. And I've really liked his game dating back to that game in Calgary, which I thought he played very well. He was on the hunt. I think he had 2 assists that game.
The last road trip, right? Yeah, before the
last road trip. Okay. I was like, okay, you're starting to see it click.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch when you see a player, because, when you're following a team in Schenger, this, like when you see a player figure it out, like you're like, oh, like he's starting to get it. Like Willie Eklund, it took him a little bit. You start to see him figure it out.
Will Smith last year at the end of last year.
Last year at the end of last year. Collin Graf, right away, which is wild to see how he's got it figured out. So yeah, I think it's Misa adds another layer to this team. Now, how long Wenberg's going to be there, and if they, and what they decide to do with him, I think he's a great veteran for these guys. I like that, he's going to be a part of this team and for a little bit, and I think he's important to this team. But I do love what I see from Misa. Like I think I just posted kind of a video of a couple breakdowns of the defensemen, Dickinson and Mukhamadullin. Just like a couple plays I saw on Twitter, and I just watched Misa in both the clips, and he's just always in the right spot. He's always supporting the defender. He's understanding if he has to be a winger, he's got to push out, he's got to drive. He doesn't leave too early, he doesn't cheat, and he's getting rewarded for it now, and that's the important thing. So I think it's good. I just want to, I wonder, because they started the lines last game. I know they moved. They had him with Toffoli. They have him with Toffoli and Eklund, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
So I like.
Yep.
I like putting Toff there. Yeah, protects him, and I think Willie benefits from a guy like Misa that can make some plays and open up. And I think Toff is, always going to be a good third guy high and just a great shooter that can uncork it. So I've liked it. I think they're trying to figure out the first and third line a little bit more. Sorry, the first and second line because when he's there, but
Yeah.
I know 2C, 3C. I put it as kind of like a 2CA and a 2CB between Misa and Wenberg, where it's like, both those lines depending on the night. But yeah, I'm really impressed with him, and I have been for a couple months now. So I've been, because when I watched him at the World Juniors, I was a little bit like, I don't know if it's there, and I was like, he's a little young, he's a little green, and he's really translated his game well to the NHL, and we talk about adaptability. He's been very adaptable, and I think that's a very good thing to have in a young kid, especially when you have Macklin that takes so much of the spotlight. He's never going to be the guy if Macklin's there, so he's got to figure out where he fits in that role, and he's done it really well.
I think what I liked about him actually at World Juniors, and Keegan and I actually talked about it a couple of months ago right after the tournament, is that just like what you mentioned, that he positionally always seems pretty sound for an 18-year-old. And even at World Juniors, he wasn't chasing
not flashy.
points.
Yeah, not flashy. He's people I think expect him to be flashy, but he's very. And that's, we talk about Macklin and influencing the next generation and learning how to play away from the puck. He does a very good job. He's got a good innate ability in his brain. He understands the game and where to be in space. So that's for a centerman too, young, that's good to have. Big time.
Yep. And so, like, for him to do that in such a high-pressure tournament at the World Juniors where he's expected, and he knows, I'm sure he tries to avoid whatever the social media, but he knows he's expected to be the man and all that stuff, right? But he just played a smart game, and it didn't work out for him in the end. But he played the game, I thought, mostly the right way, and it carried over right to the Sharks. And this season, as his sort of body has developed, right? He looks quicker now than he did in October. He obviously has gained some strength, though I think that obviously is the main area that still needs to be worked on. Still gets knocked out the puck a bit easily there, but normal for 18-year-old. But you just see that he got those, and that's part of, you mentioned, like the Sharks and the Sharks, how they've coached him and developed him. And it's not just run and do whatever you want and get points and worry about the details later. No, it's get the details right, and then we know you've got offense, and that'll come out as we give you more time and you show you've got the details right. So anyway, just been like you mentioned, very impressive from Michael the last month or so.
He also looked really good on the power play too, which has been looking better now that Klingberg's on there and Ekman's on the second PP.
I mean, they've scored one goal in their last 5 games. Struggled a little bit.
Yeah, but they've had more control. They're getting more chances. So I like that.
They've been arguably better than PP1.
Yeah.
So,
they got the start yesterday on one of the power plays.
That's the only knock I have on it's not even a knock on Macklin of what I think they need to teach him is when they do that double drop. Yeah. He always tries to enter with speed wide, and it doesn't work the way they PK in the NHL. If you can't get it through the dots with speed, you should kick it out and drive through. And he sometimes opts to not kick it out to that winger I think it's usually Eklund that's posted up. He should, because he backs everybody off with his speed, he should kick it out and just drive down and then just let that entry happen clean. So a lot of the time he'll carry it in and try to find a play. And I just think you paint yourself into a corner. If I'm a defender on the penalty kill, that's where I want that double drop guy to go. Go wide with speed because you're right into our pressure point, and then that's where we close on you. So it makes it a little hard to kind of, so that, those are the only little things I see with Mac on the power play. But yeah, I think it's going to be more structure based. I think it's just been a little bit of a revolving door with who's up top there. And I know they don't want to go to 5 forwards as much as I think sometimes it probably stares them in the face. And it's like, let's do what Vegas is doing. But I just think they need to find a guy that's going to be the quarterback of the future.
That's
a good transition.
To our next topic, JD hosting the show, so
I know where you want to go, so I bring us there.
So, trade deadline obviously coming up. Today is March 2nd. The Sharks have just won 2 games, so kind of have changed maybe where the narrative was going, because they were on a 5-game losing streak and looking like obvious sell. But now that they won 2 games in a row here, and they're 3 points out of the last spot as we speak, and they have a game at on hand or in hand on Seattle, which is the final wildcard spot. So the playoffs are reasonable here, and so. Let's talk first, I guess, the big question of the PP1 of the future. And we'll talk about the Sharks' kind of current UFAs and whatnot in a second. But the Sharks still need that PP1 of the long-term future, but even maybe the short-term future too. And they need able-bodied top 4 defenders everywhere. And so, anyway, we had you on a couple weeks ago just to talk about some of the defensemen out there. I'm not sure if you have any different answers specifically on where the Sharks find that PP1 of the future, long or short term.
Yeah, I mean, right now in the league, I think willing trade partners. I don't think there's a PP1 guy that's available without mortgaging a lot.
Right.
And I think they're in weird waters right now because I know internally they're probably looking at the board being like, can this team win a cup? No. Do we want to do everything we can to get playoff experience for these young guys that are eventually going to be ready to win a cup in the next 5 years and be a contender and something like that? Yes. How do we get there? We have to trade pieces without giving up any capital. We got to trade pieces without giving up any future. So it's a very tough decision. I think it's going to be very, very touchy for Mike Grier and company to make a move that doesn't really, the Kiefer Sherwood, I think, moved the needle well. They can get him to re-sign. I think that's the biggest thing. Otherwise, I think in the next 2 days, I'm pretty sure that they've had talks with his camp and are saying, like, if you don't sign something within the next week, we'll probably move you. So here's our offer. Here's the decision. No hard feelings. Because I'm sure people are calling about Kiefer Sherwood.
Yep, they could get a lot back for him, yeah.
Yeah, they get a lot back from him. I'd like them to keep him. I think he's a great third-line option for him. I know people are like, well, wait, he's a first-line guy. I don't think he's a bona fide 20-a-minute-a-night guy. I think he's very good at driving offense for a third line and a bottom six that can kind of be that guy that jumps up if somebody gets injured. So I liked where they ended up with the lines last night. They obviously need a guy that can be that top line winger for Macklin that grows with him. At times I saw, Chernyshov was one in my mind that was like, okay, I think if he keeps developing, he could be that guy. I think Collin Graf is going to be better suited as a second line, third line guy. That's like this guy that just is going to be a nightmare for matchups. But if we're getting to the back end, there's 2 guys that I've had was Braden Schneider. I think you need to bring in a young guy that can grow with this team. I don't know if he's a PP1 guy.
No, not at all.
No, but he's a PP2 guy, and he's a guy that can play, both ways, and he can play, a 200-foot game. Michael Kesselring has struggled in Buffalo, and I know him personally, and he's a guy that I would go after if I'm San Jose because he's very low. His value is very low probably right now. He had some injuries, but he has scored over 30 points he was close to 30 points 2 straight years and hasn't really been given the keys. He's young. He's hungry. He's a guy that could come in and be a top 4 at his best. And if you need him to be your 5-6, he's also a guy that's going to grow with the team. He's big body, good length. And right now, Buffalo are pushing the chips all in, so they probably won't be playing him big minutes. So they could be looking to move him for a veteran guy. Could have a Vinny DeHarnay go in for him or somebody like that, or somebody that I do like Vinny the way he's played, and I love him, and I'd love to keep him on my team. Even if Ferraro, if they're looking to, move a veteran for a young guy, I think it's something that I would look at if I'm Mike Grier, because I think he's a good player, and you got to fill up the roster and the back end with guys like that. And then when the splash becomes available, which I don't think it's there yet, you got to take it. And hopefully you swing big and you hit it. But I think right now they should be trying to find 25 to 30-year-old defensemen that are established in the league, maybe, not that have good potential, that can grow with the team, because that's what I think they need moving forward right now for this season. And then once you get to the the off season, because I don't want them to take a swing, miss the playoffs, and then it's like, what do we just do? We got too horny. So I think I don't think Mike Greer's thinking that, and I think he's going to stick to the plan.
Yeah.
And if the guys, and it's going to kind of be one of those things where don't be surprised if you see maybe a couple AHL trades and maybe one trade for the back end, and then they go, we're just going to see what happens. I wouldn't be disappointed if I'm a Sharks fan, because I think everything that's happened this year is a step in the right direction. You got to keep the momentum going. You can't get off course and off plan. So those are the two guys that stand out. If you could get Justin Falk, I'd get Justin Falk, but I think
he's too expensive.
So. The price is too high.
Yeah.
Tyler
I don't think that's worth it.
Tyler Myers as well. Price is too high.
I still like Dougie Hamilton as a bridge solution, just for a couple of years.
I do. A lot of money.
He won't be expensive.
But he turned
in terms
down
of trade. I mean,
he turned down one, trade already. I don't think he's going to waive it now.
But that was before Macklin was a top 5 player in the world.
But he's one of those guys, like, I just know some internal stuff. I don't think personality-wise, I don't think they need him. Like, when you really look at it, I mean, there's also the crazy world in which you kind of see the fracturing of the relationship with Adam Fox in New York.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to ask you about him. I know we talked about him a little bit already, but yeah.
I mean, a little bit injury plagued, but a top 20 defenseman when he's healthy in the NHL and can run the fuck out of a power play. That's for sure. So, and I think he'd fit in nice with Dickinson, down the line. I think Dickinson's is really improving night in and night out, big time. And I think I'm starting to see why they drafted him. And I think he's a couple years away, but I think he's really moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. Let me rapid fire. I know your time is a little short here, but let me rapid fire a few guys here, okay? So first, Schneider is a guy that I've debated a lot with scouts. Question is he a true top 4 guy, middle pairing guy, or is he more a 4 or 5 guy?
4, 5, 6.
Okay,
4,
yeah.
5,
so
6.
that's I think the problem, because I think the Rangers probably want a first round pick for him because he's young, he's right-handed, I believe, right? He's mobile. Yeah, exactly. So there might be a kind of an issue here. Okay, 2 other guys that I wonder about. Zach Whitecloud's a guy that I like. He's on a great contract. He's right-handed. He hasn't played a lot of minutes in the past, but that's because he's been on a very, very deep Vegas team. And so most people I talk to think that he is a legit top 4 guy. He has that ability. And so is that a guy that you like?
4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6 still? Okay,
another 4, 5, 6. Better than Schneider.
Better than Schneider, okay.
A little better, but similar. But 4, 5, 6 is another one for me. Yeah.
How about Brandon Carlo? He seems like a guy. Obviously, the Leafs
6.
are falling off at 6. You don't like? Okay. All right. Too expensive.
Just
okay.
Getting
so let's throw him out.
I'm worried about the injuries. I'm worried about the age. Starting to get old.
Okay. So I wanted to pick the carcass of some of the teams that are down. We talked about Adam Fox, but he's going to be very, very expensive, and obviously he has no movement clause. He got his way to New York in the first place and avoided Calgary and Carolina, so he's got a lot of control. So he might be too expensive. So he's a guy that you better be sure, because you got to pay up for him. 3 other guys, though, that I look at, though, who are number 1 on their team. I don't know if they're true number 1 defensemen or not. A couple of these guys probably are. I don't know if the Jets, what they're going to do with Morrissey, because the Jets are kind of a mess now. And I think getting Sanheim with the Flyers would be great, but the Flyers seem like they want to win soon, though. They don't seem like they're really
in a weird spot.
Yeah. How about Morrissey, though?
Morrissey, I would take a shot at Stanley if it's available.
Oh, sure. You mentioned him before, yeah.
I think Logan Stanley, again, I'd take a shot. That big body. I think if he can move, he's figured it out a little bit. I think they're going to want to keep him now. I think he's played too well for them to get rid of him. I do like Morrissey. I always love him. Great kid, great player. A little bit smaller, but he plays a good brand of hockey. And then the other one you said was Sanheim.
Sanheim, but I don't think that's realistic. That's probably
I don't think that's realistic for them to move. And it's tough. There's I'd also look at if Ottawa doesn't make the playoffs, like a Shabbat. Maybe look at a Shabbat. Guy that can skate, be fluid. You're looking at it, but it's tough. It's fucking really hard right now in the NHL defenders. It's there's the top guys are too expensive, so you have to be sure you kind of hit on these young guys. And then when one becomes available, you almost got to fill out your roster with a bunch of 4s in the meantime. So that's why. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One guy that Dan Boyle mentioned the last week, but I don't think this is a legit trade rumor. I looked further into it, but I just wanted your thoughts on the player, though. So, the Leafs again, Morgan Riley, but Morgan Riley, he's 31. He's UFA in 2030, so it's a longer contract than some of these other guys too. His contract isn't bad, but he's 31 though, and so where's his game at? Like, I'm just throwing it out there because I mean,
I
yeah.
would grab anybody out of Toronto that's under fire because it's very hard to play in that market, and I think Morgan Riley's still very serviceable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would take a crack at him if you could, but I don't know if they're going to probably want to put him to a contender like now if they're doing it. I mean, they're a fucking mess in Toronto. I don't know. They got to get young fast, so they're going to probably want some young players for Morgan Riley. So San Jose would have to be willing to give up a couple of their youth guys. Which I don't know if they're gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be picks because they need to get young and Toronto also doesn't have a great they don't have a great system in the A. I don't think either.
No, I don't think they do. But I figure though, a little bit like Hamilton, not as bad, but like because his contract is for so long, Riley, and he's older, that you might be able to get him on the cheap though, at least though. And
yeah,
so,
you could,
right?
and he'd be 35. He skates well, moves the puck well. I think he'd be fine. I don't mind him at all.
All right, and my last thing quickly then is the Sharks' current guys here. So I think last time you were on the show, I think you might have called it that Ferraro, as I've reported. As far as I know, there was a short-term offer from the Sharks. Got to circle back on that. But obviously, a guy like Mario, this is going to be his first big contract, first time at UFA. And we saw contracts last year for guys like Lindgren and CC. Ferraro can get more than, like, say, 2 years. He can get 4 years out there. So that's not really a great offer, I think, for Ferraro. So I don't know what's going to happen there. This might be the year that Mario finally gets traded.
What did they offer him again?
I think it was in like the 2 year range. I got to check if there's been any amendment to it, but he could do better than that.
Yeah, I'm sure right now with where the cap's going, and he's a great team guy.
Yeah, he's still young,
still young, and even though he's been in the league for a while, still young. Got a lot of experience on him, playing a good hockey game. He's played well with Mook last night. I just think would be now's the time to maybe get a young player back. Ferraro to me is like one where I'd send him to a Buffalo for a Michael Kesselring,
right?
And maybe they give him term. Buffalo gives Ferraro term and maybe a little bit lower price tag, but they give him term, and because they have a lot of big contracts, and you go get, or you send him to New York for. I mean, they wouldn't take him in New York, but I just think it's like you look to put him on a contender that has some cap space.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You could see Lindgren just went down in Seattle, so you could see Mario go to Seattle as well. There's a couple places, so yeah, I just think I think it would be time for both parties. I just think it's nothing against either one. I just don't think they're going to give him what he wants, and I think you can get something for Mario. I think he's a very, very he's a defenseman that could help any contending team.
Yeah. So I figured that so you don't hurt the team too much. Like you said, you could trade for a Kesselring that could help the Sharks long term still. Or like if you acquire a Whitecloud, trade out a Ferraro, then it cancels a little bit. Maybe Whitecloud's a little better. So Liljegren is a guy that my understanding right now is that there isn't really a future for him with the Sharks probably, right? And so he's a guy that might go out. Desharnais, you mentioned, I would guess the Sharks would want to keep him and he wouldn't be too expensive. So
I'd keep Desharnais. And I know what they're trying to do with Timmy, and I think they really wanted him to quarterback the power play, and it just didn't he got some unfortunate injuries at bad times too. He got a little unlucky. But I think a team would pay as a depth piece as well, like for a stretch run. So I just don't know how much you're going to get for him, but I think it's one of those things that if they don't find the right deal, they might just, let the clock run out.
Yeah, he can play. He's
still a player in this league. So, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And then finally, two more guys. Well, Klingberg we talked about. Klingberg I think has actually done a good job considering that 1 year contract. He's got 10 goals for you. Like for a guy that basically is a flyer, basically a reclamation project. I don't know if you can ask for more from him, but I don't think that he's necessarily long for the Sharks past this year. I think it's a question of, would you rather just have John roll out the season at your PP1 or trade for a short-term upgrade like a Dougie Hamilton or something like that? I think that's kind of, you balance, something like that out, right?
Yeah, I just don't think, unless he's packaged up, you're going to get anything for John.
Sure.
Nothing against him. I just don't think people are going to take that shot. So I think you keep him as your PP1 guy. And you just roll it out, and you hopefully he brings him in, and you hope in doing that he continues to kind of have a good season and then is able to go sign somewhere.
Yep.
And I just think and if it goes really well and you make it, you maybe just offer him a small deal, and he stays because he's comfortable and he's a great guy. He's a great team.
He's a great guy. Yep, absolutely. Yep. And I think the last guy I really wonder about with the Sharks, and actually JD is going to be joining the Sharks road trip, right? You're doing all what, 5 games or
three
of them? 3 of them? Okay.
3.
Okay.
Buffalo, Boston, Montreal.
Oh, the best spot. All right.
Fucking right.
So Mukhamadullin is obviously, a guy that is really at a crossroads with the Sharks. I mean, he's 24, new father. Congratulations, Shaq. But he's an RFA. He's not waiver exempt anymore. Yeah. So it's really kind of shut up time for him. It has been a whole year, and honestly, that he hasn't defined himself as a top 4 defenseman this year on this team is honestly, in my opinion, on him. I mean, on this team, there's Orlov, there's Ferraro. Everybody else, you should be able to be ahead of them if you're Mukhamadullin at his talent level. And so, I guess, where do you see his game, and where do you see him, going for the rest of the season?
Yeah, he's a tough one. I think they took a flyer on him and hope he turn into a Vlasic of sorts.
A lot of talent. He was a first-round pick, so it makes sense, right? Yeah, when they traded for him.
Yeah, so I think it's not a knock on either one. I just don't know if he's going to get to the level that they want him to. I think he's a good 5'6". I do. I think you can keep him as a guy that's young and have him there, and he's not going to be expensive for you, and you just kind of continually have him out there. And if the roster gets really good and he ends up being a 6'7", I don't think that it's a bad thing.
Sure.
I think it's one of those things, if you have to package him for something really good, kind of, trying to go get somebody, then yeah, it works. But otherwise, I wouldn't force anything with him. I'd just keep trying to develop him. And sometimes guys like that, you look at Logan Stanley, it took him a while to figure it out. And a guy with a big body like that, with a good stick, I think you just give him
you can skate.
You keep giving him more time. I just think you give him a little bit more time. For me, it took, with the Sharks, it took me, I had a good first year, up and down first 2 years. Third year, I had a tough year to start. And then fourth year was better, struggled fifth. So it was like, you got to do with those growing pains. For a defenseman, it takes about 200-300 games before you kind of defined yourself. And I just think for me, it's just give him more time. It's just wait and see. Unless you package him with for something really big, I think it's a wait and see for me.
And
that makes sense.
And to that too, Shaq's been plagued with injuries, just really unfortunately. Sure. And it seems like every time when he starts to settle in and actually start looking good, there's another injury. Last year, when he hurt himself, that was when he was playing his best hockey. And right now he's looking good. He had a great game, the last 2 games, and let's just hope he can stay healthy. Yeah.
Tough to beat.
And he has all the tools, right? Lanky defenseman that can skate. You always want a little bit more physicality, but he doesn't have to play that way to be an effective defenseman. No. So yeah, I like his game. I actually see him possibly if he can avoid the injury bug and play, I can see him as a number 4 defenseman.
Yeah. The blessing in disguise is that he's been so hurt and hasn't played a lot of games, so he'll be cheap as RFA this year.
That's it.
So yeah,
we like cheap
RFA too. So yeah, so
we like cheap in the Bay Area.
So Zubair, if you have nothing else for JD, I guess the last thing to ask JD, unless Zubair, you have something else.
No, just your Venmo so I can get that Jack Hughes jersey.
Yeah, well, fucking was supposed to be at 12:10 hard out, and we're at 12:30. So
there you go.
I think I'm paying my weight in it right now.
You could get him the one from China on eBay. So yeah. So
I'll get you the Alibaba.
Yeah,
the Alibaba. Yeah.
But I just want to ask you: Do you? Okay, Kiefer Sherwood. He's 30. Speculation is he wants 30 million. We don't know about how many years, but probably that's like 5 or 6 years, right? So that's what he's hoping for. Like, would you extend him at that? I mean, at his age, I mean, obviously he does add a lot of different things. Like, he has a B game to add to the Sharks, and his leadership can pop in. Should be able to pop in 20 goals for you and hit the fuck out of everything. But anyway, is that a contract you give him?
I think where the cap's going, that's just going to be, and I think you're not paying him that for the last 2 years. It'll be for the first 3, and then you'll probably have to eat some. But I don't mind it. I think if it fits, I think they need some guys like that on the team, and I think he's a guy that if he can stay healthy, I think it's worth it. But I think if you get something good for him, and that's why I think Grierzy's probably got that contract on his desk. And maybe Sherwood's accepted it, but Grierzy's like, I'm going to wait and see this week and see if anything big comes up, and we can sign it. If we don't trade you, we sign you. And it's just like one of those things. And Sherwood might be like, all right, good, sweet, easy peasy. So, but yeah, I think a guy like that deserves it. It's always tough because 30, the age. But with where, technology is on rehabbing and stuff like that and sports performance, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it where the cap's going to. It's going to keep going up, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Nice. Well, thanks, JD.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. You fuckers. You kept me 30 minutes long. Go fuck yourselves. Thanks, guys.
See you soon, bud.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Go Sharks. Go. We'll see you in a week.
Let's go. See ya.
Hey, buddy. Thanks a lot, JD, for jumping on. But now let's talk Sharks with Keegan. And all right, so we touched on it a little bit with JD, but the Sharks, it looked like they were going to be sell.
I love the alliteration. I love the repetition. Nice.
5-game losing streak, but now they've won both games over the weekend. They beat Edmonton.
Yep.
They beat Winnipeg. It is Monday, March the 2nd. The Sharks only have one more game before the trade deadline. And so they are still in the periphery of the race. They are right now 3 points behind the Seattle Kraken, but they have a game in hand on Seattle. Seattle has the last wildcard spot. Nashville and LA are still on the outside too, with the Sharks looking in. So it's a tight race. I think you can go a lot of different ways with this. I did want to say that I feel like last week a lot of people misunderstood us or took us wrong. We're not saying bye. We're not trying to go all in. We understand that this Sharks team right now, even though they have Macklin Celebrini, is not going to win a Stanley Cup this year. The contention window is like true contention. I mean, if everything goes right, it could be as soon as next year, but realistically, we're probably talking like 2 years, right? 3 years down the line for like the true contention window. But you still need to make the team better, though. So it's not as simple as sell, which might have been the answer if the Sharks had kept losing and had really played themselves out of the race. But this weekend, they've played themselves back in the race. So, Keegan, just first initial thought. I mean, what direction do you go in with the Sharks?
I think we both got a lot of internet flack for saying that we wanted unfair internet flack for saying that we wanted to buy after the or because of the they went on that big losing streak before the Olympic break. These two wins are good wins, and I agree. I don't want to spend a first on a rental. I don't want to spend a first on a 4 to 6D. I don't want to spend a first on somebody who's in their 30s and is not going to improve the team for long term. But at the same time, if there are players out there, I'm okay with, we have an extra first for a reason. So if there is somebody that is going to impact the team for this year and 2 years, in the contention window that's going to hopefully start next year, It has to be the right person, but listen to it for sure. You don't want to just be like, well, we got to save these picks because we need picks. We actually, I don't know, not really. If you look at it, yes, it would be great to have picks. More picks is great, and you could rebuild the prospect pool that's graduated to the NHL. But if the Sharks in their current constructed state, not including any other drafted prospects that could make the team, they would be one of the most drafted teams to win cups, right? Like most teams that win cups are some draft picks and a lot of trades and a lot of signings.
Oh, you mean draft picks on a team, their own draft picks
exactly.
on a team. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, guys like Eklund and Will Smith and Misa and Celebrini and Dickinson, the amount of picks that we have already that are on the team in high places on the lineup would be impressive. Like, even go back to like
that's
the
a
Panthers.
Question. I don't know. Yeah, I wonder about that. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's a good maybe.
I mean, most teams have like 5 to 6.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't need 13 drafted players to make your team, right?
Fair.
So there's going to be different ways to make the team, and we already have the future in terms of a really good top 6 starting, and then the D needs some help. But all I'm trying to say is, don't fall in love with just the picks, even though I love picks and prospects. At some point, we're going to have to use our picks to improve the team. So that's it. I think, I wouldn't go after, I'm not chasing the Brandon Carlos of the world for a first-round pick like the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're not in that spot. We're not in the spot of buying to be a playoff contender. Hopefully, Greer is buying and selling to make the team better in the future and figure out where this core is going to be in 2 years. So that's it.
Yep.
Everybody calm down. It's okay. And I will defend my take on getting Zach Werenski because I love that player so much. He is a excellent player. So
that's another topic, though. Yeah, that's
a different day.
That's a different day, but. As we know, Keegan does love his prospects, and even he had to let go the ghost of Daniil Gushchin, and so
I did. The ghost of Gushchin is, it haunts me to this day.
but yeah, buying responsibly, and I think we can argue that Kiefer Sherwood is that buying responsibly. Well, I think there's different arguments about that.
For sure.
So yeah. I will grant everybody that one. But the Sharks definitely are in a position to at least to buy responsibly. And nowhere have I suggested that. I think the only thing I've suggested is that, let's say the Sharks had traded their Edmonton first for a Panarin. I'd understand at least. I didn't say that I supported it. I'm just saying, I'd understand because that's an elite player, even though he's an aging player. But
he's an elite player who then immediately signed a 2-year extension for money.
Really, actually, honestly, great sweetheart extension. So, and it didn't even cost actually even that much. In
California, so you can't even blame state taxes.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's the limit of it. Like, there were suggestions that because I think I misspoke last week, so just to clear it up, no, I would not trade the Edmonton first for Zach Whitecloud. I don't think that's what he's worth. I spoke with a couple of scouts who suggested more in the second round kind of range. I like the player, but just to be very, very, very clear about that. So it's not all in. It's not, trade everything just to make it to the playoffs this year. It'd be nice to make it to the playoffs this year. It'd be nice to improve the team and right now, so they have a better chance of making the playoffs this year. But it's not really about this year. It's about the next couple of years and making the team better in places where you do need some improvement. And we talk about this with JD early on the show. The Sharks do need improvement on PP1. And of course, it'd be great that if you can get Quinn Hughes with an extension, you can get Adam Fox for cheaper than for cheap or whatever, right? But those things didn't happen or aren't likely to happen. And so sometimes you need just bridge solutions, which John Klingberg has been fine as a bridge solution. And maybe a Dougie Hamilton is a better bridge solution for next year and the year after. That's his contract. So anyway, I think just to sum that up, buy responsibly. That's what I think Keegan and I agreed on. Though I did see a funny comment on your Twitter that Keegan, that what was it? 10 million for Sherwood and somebody else, and you've been hanging around with me too long.
Yeah, well, it's Logan Stanley and Sherwood.
Oh, Logan Stanley. That's right.
I just think Logan Stanley's going to get $4.85
million to Logan Stanley.
I think he's going to get $4.85 million. Is he worth that?
Know.
Probably not.
That's
probably not.
Yeah, I think I saw someone throw out a 25 million overall figure for him, which is maybe like 25 by 5 or something like that, or I'm sorry, 5 by 5.
I've been hanging out with you too much, but I do think that like we need. We've been seeing the same defense. It's marginally better this year for sure. I mean, not marginally. It's actually significantly better, I would say, this year than it has been in prior years. But we've been seeing the same kind of stopgap solutions on defense for a while, and we're hoping that Dickinson is in a top 4 role for the foreseeable future. We don't know what's going to go on with Ferraro. We don't know what's going on with Liljegren. Klingberg is,
Mukhamadullin, so
yeah, Mukhamadullin has flashes where you're like, that's Mukhamadullin,
Yeah.
We'll talk about him in a minute.
It's like, oh, that's Mukhamadullin. So.
That's Mukhamadullin. Exactly. So I want some solutions, and I think Greer and management also do. So it doesn't mean that. I think a couple of things. Number one is we have a ton of cap space, and not just a ton. Like, not using it is not weaponizing the cap space. We usually say that phrase for generally like getting players back to sit on your bench or sit on LTIR or whatever. That's how you weaponize your cap space and get picks for them. But using nothing, sitting on $20 million while you have Macklin Celebrini on an ELC, the top 5 player in the world on a entry-level contract, honestly, that's bad. Like, you should try to find a way to spend that money, even if you have to overpay for a year, as long as you don't ruin the future, to try and make the playoffs with Macklin on his ELC. I mean, I would not. Macklin and Will and Misa and Dickinson, they're all on an ELC. You have 4 players that are making less than $4 million combined that are impacting your top 4 and top 6, respectively, like defense and offense. And you're not using $20 million in cap space. What do you want us to do? Like, tank another year and get marginally better pick? It's not going to happen. They're going to be a decent team next year because they have pieces in place. So use the space.
They have the best player in the world.
They have one of the best players in the world on an ELC. It's like, per value contracts, there is no one more valuable in the NHL per dollar than Macklin Celebrini right now, and you have 20 million of those.
Any tank dreams you have, he's going to be like Kevin LeBanc and Noel Gregor, like on steroids.
Exactly, he's going to pull that tank dream out of it. So you got to spend the money. It doesn't mean go throw out 8-year contracts, and Greer said that repeatedly. But if you overpay for a year or two, I'm not worried, especially with the cap increasing $6 to $7, $8 million every year. I think it's honestly would be worse to not spend the money. So everybody's gonna freak out.
About extremes, though, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to, sorry to interrupt you there a little bit, but I want to get to a guy that's actually a gray area guy. This is where there's a legitimate debate about, I think. Okay,
for sure.
Earlier this week, Pierre LeBrun reported that the Sharks would be open to flipping Kiefer Sherwood. The Sharks acquired Kiefer in January. He is 30. He is having a career year now. He's a late bloomer. Traded 2 second-round picks for him. Really a surprising trade for the Sharks, but they had been up to that point so good that you could kind of see the vision there. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people, and I understand this point of view too, that's a lot to give up for a guy who is 30, a pending UFA, that you'll need a lot of people would argue overpay for, for what he brings to the table. Whereas there's other people that will say, well, he brings a lot of B game stuff that you love. So even if he's not scoring as much as you want, he brings all these other things to the table too. So anyway, I think it's a healthy debate here. So, okay, so the Sharks did not clarify this debate, and Kiefer Sherwood has not so far too. The Sharks went on a 5-game losing streak recently. Kiefer has only played 3 games with the Sharks, hasn't scored yet. And it's a very, very small sample size with Kiefer Sherwood. I think he is a better player than what he's shown for the Sharks so far. It takes a while for a guy to transition to a new team, too. So I'm not going to judge Kiefer Sherwood just on these 3 games. I'm going to judge him on all the scouts I talked to about his game who love his game. So anyway, though, at this juncture, what do you do with him? So again, do you sign him to that let's say 5-year, 5x5, 5-year, 5x6, 30 years old, or do you flip him for about? That's one thing I will add. Sorry, I'll let you go right after this. That Sherwood, I think you can get back those 2 seconds. I think you might even get a late first because he's a guy that playoff teams love. There's a reason why Mike Greer kind of swung, like maybe was bolder than you expected for this type of player, because playoff teams love guys like this. And so there's going to be a healthy market for him if the Sharks say, okay, you know what, it's not working out here, or you don't want to sign here. So anyway, so the Sharks they're not going to lose too much. If anything, they might gain if they make him available. So anyway,
I think, like you said, there's this gray area. There's room for debate here to decide. I was of the opinion that the Sharks went into this trade not thinking about a flip. I really don't. I could see why it's now being reported that it's a possibility. But when I first heard that, like, oh yeah, they could flip him if he's not working out, I was like, no, either he's going to work out or they really want him and they're going to sign him pretty quickly. And then it hasn't happened. I think it's because there's definitely some sort of disconnect between the perceived value of his contract, and that's been reported as well from Greer versus his agent and himself. So if you trade something like Sherwood,
Greer said that, but I just want to mention that. But go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think Greer mentioned it. I think it was reported that there's a disconnect. I think it was Elliot Friedman said there was some sort of disconnect between
Chris Johnson. Yeah, I think that's consistent. Yes. But yeah.
So I think you're right. I think you could get a first for him.
Late first. Yeah.
A late first from a playoff team that's looking for that kind of guy to fit on their third line primarily, probably. Or maybe on the second line if they want some grit as well. I think there's 2 schools of thought. I would sign him, but I would try not to sign him for $5 million. Closer to 4 would make me feel better than 5. Closer to 4 years instead of 5 years would make me feel better as well. I'm sure it would, Greer.
Then you might have to let him go.
Then you might have to let him go, or you keep him. And if he's not scoring with San Jose, how is he going to command that money on the market anyway? Like if he keeps in San Jose and doesn't perform, is he going to go command $6 million in the market or $5 million in the market after 20 games in a new environment? He has 2 goals and 3 assists. Like, is he going to demand that? Or is he going to get that? Probably not. So he seems to like it here too, and I think he wants to be in San Jose. And I like what he brings. I really do. I like his physicality. I like his effort. He's been consistently showing good effort out there. He's in the right spot. He's been putting pucks on net, and there's a game where he had like 5 shots. It just didn't go in.
Yeah,
I think there's been some miscues with Celebrini in terms of the speed and the way that Celebrini and Smith play. That I don't love them on that line. I think he's a better fit for the lower lines, and after they moved him, it looked a little bit better. I think he's a kind of a mismatch guy in that if he's on a second or third line, he has speed and physicality and a shot and things that can help you score goals in a depth, role. But I don't think he's a first liner, so you can't pay him like a first liner. I think they were hoping he would just like click with Celebrini and it would be all gravy, but it didn't happen, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I still like the player, so I am of the opinion that you sign him. But I understand that there's risks. If you can do something where you ship, say, Ferraro and Sherwood, and you get a first and a second, and then you trade that 2 firsts and a second for a great defenseman like Adam Fox or something like that, like if you can make this Zach Whitecloud, if you can make this a haul of a haul and then turn that haul into the thing that your team really does need, which is a scoring defenseman, Mike Greer wins again GM of the year. But I don't know if that's going to happen before Friday. So
by Friday.
I don't know. I don't think they flip him. I think they keep him and just don't have an extension in place and see how it goes. That's what I think happens. Is if they get an extension done, cool. I don't think Mike Grier is going to blink and give him $5 million to panic. I think they're just going to hold on to him, and if he walks, he walks, and they lose 2 first-round picks. It would suck, but that's what I think they do. I don't hate it.
Well, I would hate losing the picks. That's the one. That's the one that I don't accept. I agree basically with you in the sense of I like the player a lot. Again, I don't just judge him based on these first 3 games where he falls a lot.
He does fall a lot, which is interesting.
But I'm sure that'll work itself out. So, but he does seem to be in generally the right places, though. It seems like just like a quarter step there, that's a good chance, or a little less of a puck bobble or a better pass, or whatever, right? So anyway, I like the player. So whatever they do with him, as long as they don't just lose 2 second-round picks, I'm fine with. I'm okay if you sign him to that contract that I think generally what he wants or what I speculate he wants. I can live with it because, you don't love signing a 30-year-old to a 5-6 year deal. Never do, but he brings a lot to the table besides being able to score. And it's, he hits too, but also to his kind of what everyone says about him in the room, and a guy that drags you into the fight, which I know is a hockey cliche, but not everybody does that. I know that there are players with better statistics than a Kiefer Sherwood, but they don't do that. They don't bring you face front into a fight. And that's why he would be so in demand for a playoff team if the Sharks did make him readily available again before the Saturday deadline. I
also want to emphasize that I find his game a little different than your stereotypical fourth line grinder, and I like that about him. Like there's more to him there. There's more skill. There's a better nose for the net than your typical fourth line guy. Because I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, he's just Barclay Goodrow 2.0. He's not going to score any points, and he's not going to be this."
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't see that at all.
Yeah.
Like yes. Yeah. At the same time, like you're paying Barclay Goodrow $3.6 million right now till next year. We can stomach $5 million for Sherwood if we had to. I think Grier is gonna hold on to him until he gets a deal that is closer to the number that he's looking for. Maybe the term too. Maybe it's a 4-year versus 5-year thing, or a 3-year versus 4-year thing, or like who knows? But I think they really like him, and I don't know. That's how I've always seen the trade. Is he got him because their pro scouts said this is a guy that's going to help our team, and I agree with that because we don't have that type of player. Look at our top 6 is made of William Macklin, Collin Graf, Will Smith, Michael Misa, Macklin Celebrini. Great players. Toffoli sometimes.
Misa's not
Alex
there
Wenberg.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
But they're all. Are any of them physical?
I mean, except for Macklin. These are. At this point, I think Misa could get there, but these are players that trend more.
Even if they
finesse.
they're more like finesse players. Plus, they can win puck battles and stuff like that. But they're not out there playing the grind game. They're not out there able to play the style that won Florida 2 Stanley Cups, where you grind the shit out of your opponent and you forecheck the shit out of your opponent. Except for Macklin. So I don't know. There's something missing there. And once Reeves and Goodrow, are retired or gone from this team or what have you, you're going to need these guys. And I'd rather have one that has a nose for the net and can score too than just a stereotypical fourth liner who can't do that.
Well, I would say with Goodrow too, just to he got the contract when he was putting up legit third line numbers, and that he was a guy that how do you say, like, comparing him to Sherwood, like actually, like that's Barclay Goodrow 2.0, like prime Barclay Goodrow. That's a compliment, actually. That's a compliment. Like prime Barclay Goodrow would absolutely be a $5-6 million player on this market. The guy that helped win Tampa Bay the Stanley Cups that the Rangers paid for, and Barclay was that for a year or two with the Rangers. Absolutely. So if you think that's an insult, then you did not watch Barclay Gaudreau with the Lightning, and you did not watch Barclay Gaudreau that got that first round pick. I did want to mention that. So yeah, so I think there's two ways to look at that, right? So Barclay Gaudreau obviously these days is a fourth line player, but back in the day, nothing. I don't know if he's saying anything bad about his game.
And honestly, that $3.6 million, that was, I was looking at cap. I was looking at the cap right now. That was 4.5% of the cap when he signed it. $5 million would be just under
4.5. Yeah,
exactly,
about the same, right? Yeah.
So that's basically what he would be paid for, is like a high-end third line forward.
That's not taking away the cautionary tale that, of course, when you sign a guy of that age, and then obviously you want to use the Gaudreau comparison. Yeah, Gaudreau is not the player that he was 4 years ago. So there is that possibility. But if you look at strictly the Rangers example, they got a couple of conference finals out of Barclay, and pretty close, right?
And how horribly hard was it to move on? They just waived him, and the Sharks picked him up. Yes, it was lucky that the Sharks picked him up, but these guys move at the end of their contracts.
Yeah, they do. They do move. Teams want players like this. So anyway, I'm okay either way. If they decide to flip him because he doesn't sign, then I think they'll get a good return. So this is fine with me too. If they decide to neither by the trade deadline flip him or sign him, and like you said, just kind of wait to see what he does. If he scores 10 goals with Macklin over the next month or so, and he leads the Sharks in the playoffs, hey, here's your $6 million AAV. Glad to give it to you. If he slumps with Macklin, but I still have confidence in this player's game, and he'll sign a little bit lesser of a deal, like a 4x4 or something like that. Happy to do that too. So as long as, again, you've identified this player that you want in your lineup in the short term and in the kind of the medium long term, right? If it's 4 or 5 years, right? That's fine. Great. So keep him or flip him and get the draft capital back. I would have a problem if you lose him and you lose the draft capital, because that's not worth it for 20, 30 games of Kiefer Sherwood. Because those are trades you make.
Mistake, for sure.
Those are trades you make when, okay, that guy can help us win a Stanley Cup. And it may not work out, of course, because obviously only one Stanley Cup to go around every year. But if you're that's fine. If that's where the Sharks are and they identify Sherwood as the last piece to win the cup, and then you lose those picks and whatever, right? But that, obviously the Sharks aren't in that place yet. So I would have a problem with that, because I feel like I'm not sure about the reports of just the Sharks' shock at the sticker price of Sherwood, but I feel like you should kind of know beforehand, though, and that generally what he wants, right? Obviously you can work it down a little bit, right? But you should have some sense of that before you acquire a guy, if it's realistic for you to keep him, and also fitting in that number into your chart, into your projections for next year, next couple of years. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm fine with, like you said, with most things that happen, except for him walking and losing those picks. That's not worth it.
Yeah, there are many considerations here, right? This is going to be Sherwood's big first payday. As well as I know that his family's expecting a baby soon. There's a lot of considerations for Sherwood, obviously, to stay in San Jose or to go somewhere else. So he knows, as a probably new parent to be, I don't know if he's had a kid before, that this is going to be his time to make money. He knows that. His agent knows that. But and I think Mike Greer knows it too. I think we're going to be one of the few podcasts that actually likes Sherwood, though. Everybody keeps kind of ragging on it because he hasn't scored 50 goals yet. That's not what I mean, but I think there's still more to the player, and I really like. He brings a profile that the Sharks don't even have really in their prospect pool, except for Wetch maybe, but not to the same degree. So
that profile with some decent hands, right? And that's very valuable. You know what I find interesting about this too is even and actually we should give Dan Boyle shit, because he's part of the reason why people are all over us, because Dan when Dan and I were arguing last week, Dan's like, "Oh, Sheng just wants to go all in," which is not true. So fuck you, Dan Boyle. But anyway, though. But Dan, who is more cautious than probably we are, right, in terms of just what the Sharks should do at this point. He likes Sherwood. You know, Jason Demers, we just talked with, he likes Sherwood, the player, and has no issue with giving him that contract. And obviously, like I said, the scouts I talked to about it when the Sharks signed him, unanimous. They love this guy. So it doesn't mean love like they're going to give him 8x8, but like this is a player that just playoff guy again. So so it'd be really interesting to see where they go with it. Actually, I think this is a good segue into speaking of like a guy, Sherwood. Okay, where does he fit in bottom line? Or
one more thing. Did you see that they made a T-shirt out of the quote from Kiefer Sherwood as well? Did you see that?
No. What was it?
It's in the pro shop. Yeah, it's in the pro shop apparently. So really? The broadcast crew on NBC held up the T-shirt and said they called the pro shop to see if they could make a T-shirt, and they made it out of Sherwood's quote. So obviously he's staying. There's a quote based off of his like "Let's Rage" thing, you know, and it's on a T-shirt now.
After the trade deadline, go to the Sharks Pro Shop for 75% off. Let's Rage.
Yeah, it could be like $4. You're gonna get a hell of a shirt because I don't know if it's accredited to him. It just says like in quotes with a little shark on it. I don't know. You could get just like a sick ass T-shirt.
I would wear that. That'd be like 20 years from now if they trade Sherwood after like literally 5 games with the Sharks, and you have the T-shirt on. That's gonna be like, oh man, you were there for that. You're back in the day. Like that's a real fan if you're wearing that shirt.
It's like a trading
card.
I
see guys rolling around in like, I don't know, like Frederick Olesen or not Olesen. What's the defenseman?
They got a Joachim Ryan jersey.
Yeah,
they got
Ryan or Tim Heath.
They got a Rafi Torres jersey.
Yeah,
exactly. It's gonna be what it is. You get a Sherwood 44. And they gave him 44. God, like how is he not gonna stay? You know the number.
Mildly hilarious would be if Sherwood is the last 44 and then they retire Vlasic's jersey. That would just be kind of hilarious.
Mildly
but anyway, okay, so moving on. Okay, so we're talking about Sherwood, his place on the lines. Actually, Sherwood, too, was with Celebrini and Smith and got pulled off of that line last game for Collin Graf. I guess a lot of fans online, they really love that they call it the Grill Mac line, which I really don't like. He just isn't a very appealing name. So I get Will Mac because that's kind of cute. And those, Will and Macklin are 21 and 19, so like, they're kids, so it's kind of, it's kind of adorable, right? Cute. Yeah, Grill Mac, I understand how it works. I understand the English language, but like, I just don't get it as a nickname. You just need you just need a better nickname. I'll work on that, guys. You got to workshop it. I'm not a big fan of Grill Mac. But anyway, the fans are a big fan of Grill Mac. And that's Collin Graf, Macklin, and Will Smith. And so I had a really interesting conversation with Ryan Warsofsky about this a couple days ago. Or actually before the Winnipeg game. So that's Sunday afternoon. The way it started wasn't a question for me. It actually was another reporter asked Warsofsky, and they went into the Winnipeg game with Kiefer Sherwood, Celebrini, and Smith. Why not Graf? Why did you take Graf off that line? And Warsofsky said a couple things that stood out were the analytics of it. That's all he said. He said that's why it's handy to have reporters there like myself who are curious and who listen. And so I asked, what analytics? And Warsofsky then mentioned expected goals and goals for. And expected goals, actually, that's a main thing. He said, and he said possession, which I'm not sure if he meant actual possession time, which they can track, or Corsi. But anyway, though, I thought it was very, very interesting that he cited those two kind of central things. He obviously said, there's other stuff too. We watch them. There's things missing on that line, in his opinion. He did say something too that maybe he regrets saying because the fans have jumped on him for it. But I think he said something like, I don't think that line is as good as people think that they are. So yes, guys, it is my goal, my number one goal as a Sharks beat writer to identify Ryan Warsofsky's burner. So I'll find out one day. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Top coach 6792.
Yeah.
Maybe, right?
Warzo rules.
Or Parish the Bird 33 0 0.
Nice.
So anyway, though, so I thought that was really interesting, and so without using the saying the fourth line or saying Reeves, Ostapchuk, Gaudreau, I then asked him the follow-up question because he mentioned expected goals. Well, you have other lines that are lagging in these areas, and so how do you kind of? I mean, I didn't put it this way, but how do you explain using those lines, right? Because I know that if you are very much in the expected goals, in the analytics camp, I mean, you hate that fourth line, right? So I know this, right? So, and the way he explained it, which I found interesting. Again, a lot of people, I see my job differently than I think a lot of the fans do. I don't see my job as getting into fights with Warsofsky about things if I have a minor disagreement with him. I don't. I understand. I feel like I understand a lot of the things he does, and I said, okay, I may not agree totally with it, but I get it, right? I know the biggest thing I wrote about it was I can still defend Lodgren in overtime against Edmonton, even though the Sharks went on a 5-game losing streak quickly thereafter, but nonetheless still. But so I understand a lot of it. I'm not going to fight with him about it because I don't think it's worth fighting about. You know, if he does something like, okay, I'm putting Ryan Reeves on the first line of Macklin Celebrini, he's going to play 20 minutes a night, then okay, then that's a bit much, and that requires some commentary from the reporter. But I feel like my job is mainly to get you the answers to your questions and to try to interpret it the best that I can, and to get you the behind the scenes stuff too, which are these answers. This is behind the scenes of what Ryan Warsofsky is thinking, and to also try to explain it to some degree the best that I can. So the way he explained it made sense to me that, okay, Ostapchuk, Reeves, Gaudreau, he considers that his identity line, flawed or not, right? There might be a line that he considers more of his defense or stopper line, which is anything with Wenberg usually, or kind of his matchup line, I guess you can call it that too, right? That he matches up against your Connor McDavid's, your Nathan McKinnon's, right? You could have a play driving line. You can have more of a, obviously you have a scoring line, which is anything Macklin is on. So that explanation made sense to me. And so I thought it was interesting though, but I thought it was interesting though that how outward he was talking about analytics there. And so that does open the door for me to ask more questions about it, because now I am very fully aware that he has more than a peripheral knowledge of it, because all coaches have a kind of a peripheral knowledge of it, but you know, if that's not really how coaches see things, like asking Bob Boughner about expected goals, I don't know if that would have gone really anywhere. That's just a guess. I don't know,
Sure.
But like that's part of, you identify how the coaching staff actually sees things, and so then you try to talk to them about it. Okay, so why, like, say, we can ask about defensemen, right? Obviously, Mario Ferraro, his analytics, at least the publicly available ones, they lag a bit or a lot. So might be good, well, if the Sharks don't trade him, to get a sense of, okay, what do you value about Mario that keeps him in the lineup every day, even though, again, some analytics will not favor him, but they might favor historically. I don't know for the Sharks, if they have so much, but historically, like a guy like Lodgren, analytics favor him, because I know that Toronto, he was a kind of a fan darling there, right? In part because of that. But we've watched both defensemen here, and eye test to me, I'm not going to argue with Warsofsky about this. Like, there's no comparison between the two defensemen on a regular basis, in my opinion. That's in favor of Ferraro, by the way. So anyway, I know that you are very steeped, educated in analytics yourself. And so what did you think? What did you make of what he said?
Yeah, I think coaches, like you said, have their favorite lines and their favorite things. And yes, he could say the analytics was the reason why that he put Sherwood on the first line and stuff like that. But I also agree that it's more important that your first line that's getting more minutes has a good expected goals than it is your fourth line that's getting very limited minutes. That is also generally playing more defensive minutes anyway, has the expected goals that's good. It's way more important that your Celebrini line has a good expected goals because that's how you win hockey games. It does matter if your fourth line is like the worst in the league, which it has been or was last year, but that's neither here nor there. That's like, I do understand why he has made that fourth line, and honestly, to their credit, they do their job, and their job is to check, and their job is to grind. Their job is to do their best to limit high danger chances against. They're not going to score a lot of goals, and they do. And you've mentioned that before in your articles as well. That's kind of their job. And again, it matters way more if Celebrini's line has a positive expected goals for than it does if the Reeves, Goodrow, a stop check does. Just by the number of pure minutes they play, and that equals more goals. That's how math works. But like, he's good. It's coaches get to have their cake and eat it too, right? Like they get to say that things are based off of analytics and then also based on well, I want to.
Right.
Well, that's kind of that.
They do, right? They do. I mean, that's,
They run the team, and so far, what we've seen from Warzo is he generally makes good coaching decisions. I think overall he has identity with his lines. He has an identity with his team. He's well liked from all accounts. There's ever been a bad word said about Warzo from any of the players that I can.
Kovalenko.
I was gonna say except for the Russian ones, but that's So I don't know. I still give him more. Like, there's nothing that he could say that I'm not gonna trust his coaching decisions. I do think it's funny that he said that the Graf line isn't his. And then Graf goes up and like immediately connects with Smith to get the game tying goal that helps them go to overtime. And
call me an apologist, but I actually give Warsofsky credit for that one to some degree too, because he knows what he's said. And he's just like, okay, the Sherwood thing, especially in that second period against Winnipeg, was kind of sludgy. I liked them in the last game against Edmonton. I thought they were much better. And so it's okay, let's just change it up.
And I think he looked better on the lower line anyway. Like I said before, I think he's a better matchup player. I think you can do something more effective than putting him next to Celebrini. And Graf and Smith
I still think
way more
with Celebrini, by the way. I would argue that, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, so. Graf and Smith are way more used to playing with him as well, right?
That's
like
true.
The speed.
Absolutely.
They've had 50, 100 games with him, whatever the amount that Smith has had with him. So. Anyway, I think that's very funny though, but a good credit to him, right? He changed the lines up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think we'll talk about some of the younger guys here in a minute and some of their deployment, specifically Misa and Mukhamadullin. But overall, it's been a successful year, so I think it's just funny. He gets his cake and eats it too. Like there's no, he gets the analytic if he wants to, and then he also gets it's my line, so I do it.
I do think though, if you want to talk about like things to debate about the coach, and that's why we spoke with Jack Hahn. At least that was one of my thinkings of having Jack Hahn on the 2 episodes ago, I think. And asking Jack his thoughts on the fourth line, because I do think that this is a gray area where Warsofsky may be a little different than other coaches. And so there might be a little bit more of a push to have identity kind of line like he has now. Not that, again, let's not talk extremes, okay? If you give Ryan Warsofsky Team USA or you give him Team Canada, he's not going to demand that Ryan Reeves and Barclay Goodrow on those teams, So let's not get into those extremes. But there might be just a little more emphasis. I'm not saying good or bad. Honestly, I'm not. I think this fourth line this year, as I've argued many times, I think has been fine. And I know the goals. I am aware of the analytics. Actually, their expected goals is way ahead of their goals for. The goals for is very poor, percentage wise. That is, but.
I think it's just because there's no real finish on that line, right?
Yeah. And that's what I've said many times. Yeah.
Can't finish. So.
Yeah, they could use somebody with a little bit of finish on that line, and then, like I said, at this point in their careers, I see Goodrow and Reeves as more like 13th forwards, and one of them is in one night, one can sit. That's kind of how I see them at this point. I thought, again, these were Barclay Goodrow, great player before. Reeves was I think, arguable everyday player before, and he was for like the Golden Knights and stuff like that. But anyway, that's but that was back in the day. But anyway, though, I thought the thinking interesting.
Based off of the, Warsofsky won a gold medal with Team USA, and he didn't put Barclay Goodrow in.
Right, I actually don't know what his fourth line was, but yeah.
For the World Championships last year. I don't know who it was either.
Right, but you have a flexibility. No, he wasn't. No, but you have a flexibility with your talent.
He's Canadian anyway.
He's Canadian too. That'd be interesting if he was on that team. But and so I've said this, like, with Warsofsky's options this year on his team, and it wasn't until I think a couple of days ago when I think someone did tweet this and I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, you know what? Ostapchuk, Regenda, Gaudette line. That's actually kind of interesting to me as a fourth line. But that hasn't really been really possible for the Sharks this year because of injuries. So because like Hershey was hurt and Smith was hurt, then you would need to kind of move up Regenda. You might need to move up Gaudette in a higher role. So, but for the most part this year, though, like, I don't think there's been I don't think so. I know a lot of people will disagree, but I don't think that there's been like a ton of, there was a better fourth line kind of to be made out of the Sharks. So I'm interested to see what happens. I guess we'll get to this in a second, or actually, no, we did most of our deadline talk before. Like a guy like Kurashev is a guy that's a tweener type. I wonder if the Sharks trade him and make that space for Gaudette to come back in the lineup. I don't know, but I don't know. But okay, so let's kind of move on then, and let's talk about some of the young guys here. So Michael Misa, great game yesterday against the Jets. Good game against the Oilers too. Really coming along here. We talked a lot about him with JD earlier, but one of your thoughts, obviously, on Michael.
Absolutely, and I hope I haven't watched the JD interview yet, which I'll go back and listen to it after. Hopefully Zubair is getting his like victory lap for his Misa taking the 2C spot. Is he?
I actually him though because Misa is not actually the second line center. Not even close, because Misa played his career high of 1539 yesterday. So
that's the career high? My God.
That's his career high, yeah. So not even close.
I'm super pumped about it. I know everybody's been saying that probably too. He improving all of the little things to his game. The confidence is growing. It's like a repeat of Will Smith again, where you see the skills that Misa brings, and then the exceptional parts of his game are starting to eke out and starting to show. And his speed, his smarts, his playmaking, and he can finish as well. It's all there. It just took a while, and it was start stop injury, World Juniors, that kind of thing. And I'm happy that he's with the Sharks and not back in juniors, because I think this is where he's going to grow, and he's going to grow tremendously over the next 12 to 16 months in terms of his role on this team, his productive or his offensive output. So I really like him, and I think that it is a perfect complement to a Celebrini top line as a Misa 2C in the future. I think that's a great 1-2 tilting the ice. So I'm super excited about that. It's going to be a little bit of a slow burn, and it does. I watched Matthew Schaefer the other day, and it does still sting that we don't have Matthew Schaefer, but they said on the broadcast, last broadcast, hell of a consolation prize. It still is. And yes, the Sharks could have used Matthew Schaefer, but having good depth at center, 1-2 is how every Stanley Cup winner has been made. So I think that's something that just as important. So really like him. Very excited about his development. He's showing all the things that I remember in juniors just starting to come out now.
Fantastic to see. Let's say Misa is like Logan Couture. Listened to that episode last week. Logan Couture, but maybe a little bit better there. Fantastic to see that can play 1C. I mean, that's super valuable, and that may not be as valuable as a 1D like Schaefer, but it's pretty close actually. So I wouldn't even call it a consolation prize if Misa does become the player that we think he can be. I also wrote about that. You mentioned Smith. I wrote about this yesterday, but I think we're getting to a point that I think we can have a lot of trust in the Sharks' development. I know that, just sort of pumping their tires all day here, but I honestly think so because I had a lot of questions about keeping Will Smith last year, and I think that the Sharks are proven to be right, that Will was smart enough to learn on the fly. And I think the same thing with Michael Misa this year, where there weren't as many questions as Will Smith, but there still were a lot of people who were like, well, man, he didn't look that great in his first 7 NHL games. A lot of people jumping on him after that World Juniors. And the Sharks, again, they decided that this would be the best place for him, and I think he's showing that it is. And there's other guys, too. There might be the counter argument, we're just talking about number 2, number 4 picks. But no, last year, Kasper Halttunen, they made the decision, okay, this guy probably needs to go back. He started the season in AHL, and he went back. And I don't think that was the wrong decision with him, moving him along that way. Same goes for Chernyshov and kind of promoting him this year, right? It's like we think he is ready. And
same thing with Cagnoni, right?
Right, exactly. But Chernyshov, I think, was bolder, though, because Chernyshov is younger. Cagnoni would have been an overage season, I think,
he
right?
He did dominate a ton, and he's bigger.
But, with Chernyshov, though, just that, he had a kind of a slow October. He's younger, too. Though, you're right, though, Chernyshov dominated at Saginaw when he was there. But still, though, that, I think they've done a pretty good job. They're not going to get everybody right. So when something like this kind of blows up in their face, it's going to happen too. It's not always going to work out. But I think they've shown a pretty good, knowledge
and credit
of their
also
own prospects, right?
That they chose Misa too, because there was a lot of talk about Frondell, and Frondell is doing fine in the SHL, but I'd rather have Misa. Frondell seems more of like he might be just a scoring center in the future, but he could also just be a scoring wing in the future as well, which I said before the draft too, that he kind of reminded me of more like Timo Meier rather than like a true center. And that's kind of what he's doing right now. He's got 17 goals in the SHL, 7 assists. And that's pretty good. But again, I'd rather have Misa. So credit on them for taking Misa. And there was that, reporting that they were thinking about Frondell, and then they were like, nah, we weren't. Remember, they were like,
I don't know if that. I would not take what Mike says at face value. But
the draft as a whole, it's a mystery box. They're always lying to you.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. But no, I'm happy they took him, and his development's been going well.
Yep. So I'm very pleased to see this. I do wonder, this is one of these, this is a legitimate coaching question, or what Warsofsky's thinking is, if Dellandrea had been healthy, how they would have managed to balance out the center role, because Dellandrea was the Sharks' 3C for most of this season before his injury, and Dellandrea is still week to week, I think, at this point, so it's going to be a little while for Ty, unfortunately, but I wonder how they would have sorted out their playing time. Would it be immediately, okay, no, Ty, we're going to put you on a 4th line, or you value what Dellandrea does bring, which is the motor, the defensive, the strength in battles that Misa still doesn't quite have quite as much. Though Misa does have the motor and the speed, I guess, but doesn't have the other stuff though quite yet. But yeah, that's just one I'm thinking, just speculatively. That just would have been interesting, kind of. Okay, this is how Warsofsky might be different than another coach. So, because Misa with Eklund and Toffoli, that's a really fun offensive third line. Obviously, if you put Dellandrea in there, then it becomes a different kind of line. And maybe then you put Dellandrea with Graf and Kurashev, make it more defensive. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah. Tough to say, really. I think also Dellandrea had a really good start to the year, and then I think, I'm not going to say that it fell off completely, but it's not been as productive or as impactful as the beginning of his year.
Thing, right? Yeah, I love his motor. I mean, he's a guy that just if he could add just a little bit more offense, he could be a third liner, but because everything else is there. But that's
So, Misa's taking advantage of the opportunity. Earn your minutes. It's what Warsofsky said. So,
yeah,
I super excited. Another guy earning his minutes is Shakir Mukhamadullin. In the past 2 games, had that big goal, huge block, had a baby, all the same day, 2 days, whatever it was. What is that? If there's a Gordie Howe hat trick for fighting, assist, and goal, what is goal, shot block, and baby in the same?
Wow, that's a good question. Yeah.
Can we call it the Mukhamadullin hat trick? That shot block was like,
let's call it
awesome. Yeah, it's the Mook hat trick.
The shock trick.
Oh, that's much better. All right, I like that. All right, there we go. The Shaq trick, where you goal, shot block, baby. But yeah, huge game from him, and I think it's great to see Mukhamadullin playing with confidence. That's always been the thing. When he has confidence, when he is shooting the puck and making reads at the blue line, controlling play, working the cycle, matching his guys with speed on defense. He plays really well, and you're super excited about him. We rank him top 5 in our prospect pool every single year. Because this keeps happening. Because we've liked him. And then, I don't know what happens. Like, it's injuries plus playtime inconsistency plus confidence. His own inconsistency. Confidence. He just kind of tumbles. So, there were times in the second game, or the game on Sunday, that I do think there was some... there was a poor giveaway that led to a goal, and then there was 1 or 2 times where he did get beat wide again to have his man get to the net. So there's still that with Mukhamadullin, but there are a lot of good too. He can read plays, and an enigma, that Mukhamadullin. He's showing enough that they're probably just going to do the same thing again and sign him to a 1-year, $1 million extension.
Yeah, I mean, he is using the going back to the Sherwood conversation. He's not going to cost a lot, and so he may play. He's played himself into not a great contract, which is beneficial to the Sharks here if you're not sure about a guy. And we talked about Mukhamadullin with JD, and it makes sense that you just re-sign him and just hope that it just snaps one day for him, and it just turns on. The light just turns on for him, which it does happen with players, and especially defensemen take a little bit longer. And he is fabulously talented. That's why we have consistently had him high on our list. But so that's probably what happens with him, unless you do deal him out for maybe somebody who's a little more ahead of him. I don't know, but
that could happen too. If Greer identifies
in a package,
somebody that's going to play every night, and he needs a D to go back. It could be Mukhamadullin because he's showing enough that
a lot of options too. To be honest, I mean, I'm not as confident about your Polkamps, Canyonis as I think a lot of other fans are. We see the attrition rate with defensemen, right? Like Mukhamadullin, that I thought was going to be top 4 guy, Henry Thrun, who I like a lot for a lot of different reasons, but he plateaued kind of, right? Obviously, going back to Ryan Merkley, Kinyazev, 2nd-round pick, just the attrition rate on defensemen is so high.
You gotta bring something, right? And there are things that Mukhamadullin brings, though, so I think there's more there.
The stuff you're bad at, though, you have to be. It can't be awful, right? So now we're talking about let's say what a Ryan Merkley brought to the table, but what he didn't too. So anyway, though.
I mean, Broberg is a fun example of a guy that peaked a little later around Mukhamadullin's age. Not peaked, but took off around Mukhamadullin's age, right? I think he was the 2019 draft and Mukhamadullin's 2020. So, last year was Broberg's breakout year. So theoretically, this was supposed to be Mukhamadullin's breakout year, but maybe it's one more year. And Broberg just signed an 6-year, $8 million extension, which he's playing 25 minutes a night in St. Louis. And sometimes it takes a while, especially for these defensemen with a ton of tools and a ton of skill. They need consistency and they need confidence, and injuries, etc. have not been good for Mukhamadullin. So I don't know. I am excited. We've been hurt so many times, Sheng. we keep getting hurt by Mukhamadullin.
You allude to it though, so I'm going to ask you what you think of this now, because I think we argued about this in the beginning of the season. Like, you call me apologist or not, but like I don't put a lot of Mukhamadulin's usage on Warsofsky. I think, again, I've said this many times, that it is a lot of opportunity on the Sharks' defense. If you cannot take a spot, that's probably on you. There are two guys that play every night on this defense, Orlov and Ferraro. That means there's 4 other spots for you to take on every single night, and no one really has seized it, right? Like, Klingberg has been given a ton of opportunity, John, but obviously he's been healthy scratch too. Liljegren, this is kind of the opportunity of the life of his career for him right here, and he's been inconsistent, obviously, too. Mukhamadulin's younger, he's got more time, he's got a lot of talent, but I feel like, again, this is like a golden opportunity here for him. He will have it next year too. So, but I just want your thoughts on that.
I don't criticize his use of Mukhamadullin lately. I did at the beginning of the season, because it's the same thing what he did with Gushin, which is like he makes the team out of training camp. He plays one game in fourth line minutes and then gets scratched because of a penalty. Or Mukhamadullin makes the team out of training camp, has 2 assists and gets scratched. Like,
right.
Blows my fucking mind. Like, yeah, and he didn't even have a bad game. Like, he.
Well, like, I argue with. I watched some of that. I didn't think he was that good. I mean, I know he had the assist.
I didn't think he was that great, but what the. Like, yeah. I still don't. I think he would. He was not. He was one of the top 6 defensemen at the time, and then he scratched him for multiple. Like,
one thing I would argue too for that is that there was some circumstances with that, whereas like Gushin, if we recall the whole Gushin saga, like he kind of forced his way into the lineup or into the final roster with like that, great exhibition season, right? There's no way you could put him through waivers, but he never seemed like. They really wanted him there, or
no,
it was kind of like you got to keep putting him in the points to be in the lineup. So he always was kind of destined to be aced out unless he produced immediately. Whereas Mukhamadullin was going to come back in the lineup, I think like two games later, but then he got hurt, and so I would just want to mention that is a little caveat that he wasn't
but it's the same. It's the same thing that
So
no, yeah, I know, but it was the same thing that happened in the same opener after a disappointing opener, and like it didn't feel right to blame Mukhamadullin at that game. And anyway, but so like lately though, Mukhamadullin hasn't been amazing, when he's been in. So it's not like I think there is something to be said about, and we see it with certain players, gaining confidence the more that you stay in the lineup. And I mean, Mukhamadullin said as much too. Like, it doesn't help.
It doesn't.
Getting scratched.
It doesn't, yeah.
So, I don't know. If you believe in the talent enough, you do want to win hockey games, but at the same time, that's the only one that I really think was, that's just my opinion. I think it was one game, and then you immediately sat him after he starts into the lineup. I'm sure his brain was like, what? And so, but now, like, that it's, I've seen inconsistency from Mukhamadullin that hasn't been good, so... Yeah,
I would say there's even more opportunity now too, because I think early in the season, right,
Letty got
going back to opening night. Yeah, because only the opening night you hoped that Letty was still top 4 defenseman. You hoped that John Klingberg, obviously Orlov has done his part, right? So you want to give those veterans who have earned, I think, that some rope, some time, right, because of their track record. You want to give them some run to see if they are those guys that you hope that they are, that they've proven to be in the near past, especially Letty. Obviously, it didn't work out, but anyway. So, okay. All right, so like you said, Keegan, Mook, keep doing Mook things. So now let's get over to long-awaited. It's been a
ready?
while.
Keegan's Prospect Corner. Keegan's Prospect Corner. Keegan's Prospect Corner.
I love it. It's been too long. I don't even know how long it's been. Like a month, maybe, since you've done a Prospect Corner? Something like that, right? Like before the Olympics?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my god. I mean, we covered Misa and Mukhamadullin, so those count as Sharks prospects, right? I don't have a Sharks prospect this week. I think my next one will be Carson Wetch, but I want to get another game of his to view.
We have
I watched
Nolan Allen request too,
Nolan
that's
Allen
coming too. Yeah.
Yes, that's coming as well. I did watch a game of Wetch, but I want another one to really kind of round out my opinion because I saw some interesting things, and I want to see if that's gonna stick or not. And some things that I hadn't seen from Wetch, so I'm excited about it. But I want to watch another game to make sure that I'm not just like seeing demons. But anyway, I did watch two draft eligible defensemen, but we're going to talk about one today. One, Chase Reid. Chase Reid is a 6 foot. He's listed at 6'2". I honestly think he looks a little bit more like 6'3". Like he looks a little bit bigger than he's listed at. Right-handed, right shot defenseman, I should say. I know. Playing for the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL, has 47 points in 42 games, 18 goals, 29 assists, and is a plus 30 for the Sioux Greyhounds, where as an alternate captain. So, I kind of had a little bit of a man crush on this player. Like, I guess man crush isn't the right word. Prospect crush, something like that. It sounds a little bit weird because this is like an 18-year-old person, and it seems strange to call it a crush. But I really like his game, and I think we had Craig Button on right after World Juniors, and he talked about how much Chase Reid was influencing him as well. And after watching a lot of games this weekend of his, I get it. Like there's just a lot of fun here. It's I'm not going to call it the safest pick. It's not like he is. Whereas I've described Keegan Verhoff as like the throw him out in every situations, and he's going to be the coach's dream to rely on for 23 minutes of safe hockey, PK, penalty, power play if needed. Chase Reid is more like there's more puck rushing, there's more offensive flair, there's more of a shot, there's more of a this guy's going to be your number one power play guy than a Keegan Verhoff, where you're like. He could do okay on the power play, and maybe he's a power play 2 guy, but PK 1. Chase Reid, I think, is like you're looking more like an Adam Fox kind of play driver on offense. Okay. He's not bad defensively. It's not like he's Ryan Merkley. It's not like he's one of my past favorites in drafts, Lucas Dragicevic, where he can't skate either. He's big, plus he can skate. Plus, he can defend.
Can't skate, can't defend. I love him.
Gotta love him. But no, and he has like so he's not like what I would do with Chase Reid is I would really foster that puck rushing ability. If you watch Matthew Schaefer in his draft season, he was rushing the puck, he was getting the puck in deep, finding an open target, and forcing the play and playing like a modern offensive NHL defenseman. And Chase Reid, when he does that, looks really, really good. He has the ability to cut through transition. His hands are sneakily very good. His shot is lightning quick and very accurate. I really like his offensive toolkit. I think when he gets going, when he really sees the ice offensively, it reminds me of that Schaefer-esque kind of impact. But he's not as consistent. That level of impact is not always there with Chase Reid. Sometimes he defers. Sometimes he's a little bit more like, I'll just kind of chip it out. Or, I'm not going to rush this puck. I'm going to pass it back to the forward. He's going to rush the puck. But when he actually gets ahead of steam, once he gets an idea in his brain, it works a lot of times, and it's impressive to watch. And I really think it's something special that it is going to drive this player to be a top 5 pick. That being said, there are some inconsistencies both offensively and defensively. Not that he's bad defensively. He just kind of is a little disengaged, I think, on board battles. He's not like Keegan Verhoff's very physical on the boards and is going to pin you against the wall and like make sure you don't win that puck kind of thing. Mostly because Keegan Verhoff doesn't have the feet that Chase Reid does, and he likes to kind of slow the game down in that way because his feet are a little lagging in the NCAA, but Chase Reid doesn't do that all the time. He doesn't get as physical. He's more about the counter attack. So he's trying to steal the puck off of players and trying to go the other way with it rather than, doing the safe play, tying up on the boards, waiting for help kind of thing. So just a little bit more junior-esque in the way that he defends and a little bit more of a risk taker defensively than your typical NHLer at the moment, but I think with time that can be refined. It's just kind of he takes a lot of risks. He's trying to intercept plays. He's pinching a lot more than you would want. Like a coach would probably go, "Oof, that's a little risky."
Okay.
And then his engagement level isn't always there. That being said, I think this player is going to go top 5. I would be surprised if he might beat Keaton Verhoff to number 3. He might stick at 4 or 5, but a team is going to look at this 6'3" right shot defenseman with an amazing shot and great offensive ability, and I can't see him going out of the top 5. So if the Sharks land there, that's why I'm doing him for this prospect corner. He would be a perfect addition. You want a power play 1 guy, you want somebody with size, with some bite, with some physicality, with some swag. That would be it, man. If we somehow get pick number 5, say we tumble super hard in the next, month and a half, or we win the lottery.
Right.
Yeah, Chase Reid might be the guy.
Sharks make the playoffs. Edmonton trades their first-round pick next year, which I think turns the 2026 into non-protect. Like that's going to be the Sharks pick then 2026. Edmonton misses the playoffs. You win the lottery.
Bam.
With
That's
Edmonton.
it. You mentioned earlier that we were like 2 points behind or something, where we're behind Seattle or Utah.
3 points
but we're
behind
actually
Seattle right now. Yeah.
We're 3 games in hand in Edmonton and only 4 points back.
Well, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
So it's really Edmonton that we're chasing, who's
and beat them outright too on Saturday. So didn't give him the loser point. So
that's right. And Edmonton's kind of shit in the bed, for lack of a better term, for what they're doing this season. So, anyway.
Oh, actually, just to remind you, just a little aside. The Oilers just traded for Connor Murphy.
That's right.
And I probably should say, well, it's fine. So they basically got a second-round pick they traded a second-round pick to Chicago. I asked Jason Demers just his opinion on the 2 defensemen. He actually thinks that Murphy might be a little better. Murphy's a little older, but that's about the Ferraro range of values. Just if you want one man's opinion of Ferraro's value out there. So Sharks great, Jason Demers. So anyway, in terms of Chase Reid, so do you see him as a future number 1 defenseman? Then, like if it all hits, this is going to be a true number 1 guy.
If it all hits, right? Like if he improves his defensive work rate a little bit, and he really reins in his I'll call it like risky style of defense. I think yes, but I think he might end up more like still wanting a safer. He could be your number 1, but you want somebody on his other side to be a more of an anchor, more of a rock defensively.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Ekblad to Forsling kind of thing, or like just kind of more of a rock defensively. Ekblad's an interesting comp too, although he was way more polished, I think, as a defenseman coming out than either Verhoff or Chase Reid, and that's why he went first overall. But Chase Reid also, he has the speed, the skill, and the shot to make an impact quickly, I think. And his development curve is super interesting, because he was 2 years ago, and this is where it gets weird. He played USHL minutes, right? And then was cut from his USHL team, which almost never happens for a prospect at like 16 to get cut from their USHL team and then become a top prospect. He then went to the NAHL for like 18 games.
That is interesting. Okay. Yeah, you don't hear a lot of top 5 picks from the NAHL, yeah. So
supposedly he grew a lot as well, and like his height-wise. And then went to the OHL and just absolutely destroyed it last year. 40 points in 39 games as a draft -1 after playing in the NHL for half the year. And then, it's been more than a point per game this year. And also played in the World Juniors and looked great there too, where other guys like Verhoff didn't. So his trajectory is really something. And I think that's something that NHL teams are going to look at is, okay, this guy's improving, not just like on a yearly basis, but like a month-to-month bit. Like he's like really rapidly improving. That's kind of what happened with Schaefer too. Is like his draft year, it was like this guy heading into the World Juniors looking like the #1 pick, and now the guy's scoring 20 goals a year and as an 18-year-old defenseman.
Right.
I'm not going to say it's going to happen with Chase Reid. I'm just saying like that kind of development thing gets NHL GMs excited, and I think he's got a lot of the smarts and a lot of the tools to be a first pairing defenseman, I would say.
Would you right now pick him over Verhoff?
For the Sharks?
Verhoff still your #1? Well, for really any team, right? I mean, I think you're just looking at this high in the draft. You're not looking so much for need, right? You're looking just for who's going to be the bigger impact player all around.
I have recency bias because I've watched a ton of Chase Reid this weekend, and so I right now would have Chase Reid 3 and Verhoff 4, but that would be recency bias. So I would basically have flipped them in my brain. I have to rewatch Verhoff to see if at the end of this NCAA year how his feet are looking, how his adjustment has gone from the beginning of the year. Like I said, I think there's more of a stable base there with Verhoff in terms of his physicality and work rate defensively compared to Chase Reid. Whereas the ceiling offensively is a little higher for Reid. But I would put Reid above right now.
And since we're talking about this part of the draft, then should ask you then. So after McKenna almost goes to prison for 20 years, but then drops 8 points because Ohio State
drops 8 points. Drops 8 points and does the Conor McGregor walkout afterwards. Oh my Lord.
That's the highs and lows of that crazy story and a crazy couple of weeks for Gavin McKenna. And so glad that he's all clear of all that stuff. But anyway, I think the last time we did a heat check on this, maybe a month ago, you might have had Stenberg ahead of McKenna. So where are you at now with that?
McKenna back to #1. I'm going to go. I can't.
I mean, that might be the debate. I mean, I
can't because he's just. I don't know. Yeah, there is specialness there. Like there is, and that's always been. And I think I forgot about it. A lot of people forgot about it. He's probably like, screw this. I'm not going to jail for 20 years. I'm going to go score 8 points.
Score 8 points on Ohio State.
First time in 50 years or whatever it was. I watched that game. That was like, honestly, I've never seen a kid have more fun in college hockey in so long. I love that. Like, you gotta love this. You gotta love the swag, and you know that in the future he's going to be on a power play, putting up a ton of points, and that means a lot. Even if there's not the well-rounded game, even if Stenberg is gonna impact the game in a 200-foot manner, whereas McKenna's probably only in the offensive zone more than anything. That swag, man. I'm gonna go with McKenna 1, Stenberg 2, Chase Reid 3, Keith Verhoff 4.
And I'll ask you next week.
Yeah, and then ask me next week for #5.
Or it'll change next week too.
Probably will. That's the whole point of rankings. I tried to get a top 16 cobbled together, and I have an idea. Because at this point, I've watched close to 30 of the top prospects, and I've got an idea, but I'll still save it for another show.
Alrighty. Okay.
Anyway. That's it, y'all, for Prospects Corner. Hopefully next time I'll have Wedge, probably, and then Nolan Allen.
Well, anyway, we have a very exciting trade deadline coming up. The Sharks making it exciting by winning this weekend set here. I think if they had lost both games, then it would have been like, okay, we kind of know where they're going to go here. So, we are going to be back after the trade deadline. Dan will be back with us too. He missed today's show. He is coming back from vacation, but he'll be back with us soon. So anyway, it's going to be an exciting week this week, and so excited to see what the Sharks do, buy or sell.
Yeah. All right. Hope you all have a good week. Bye.